There. Oh. I'm going to start all over. Welcome, everyone. I would now like to call the April 25th, 2023 Longmont City Council regular meeting to order. This council meeting can be viewed at the live stream at the city's YouTube channel. It can also be viewed at the Longmont Public Media channel, which is longmontpublicmedia.org/watch, or on Comcast channels 8 or 880. Can we have the roll call, please, Dawn?
Mayor Peck,
Present.
Councilmember Martin, Councilmember McCoy,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez, Councilmember Waters, Councilmember Yarbrough.
Here.
And Mayor, I know that Councilmember Hidalgo Faring is online, but I believe we need to council needs to make a motion to suspend rules and allow her to participate. Is it I think to suspend rules?
Okay. Okay, it's been amended that we sustain the rules of procedure so that Councilwoman Hidalgo Faring can participate via Zoom. And that motion was made by Councilor McCoy, seconded by Councilor Martin. Let's vote. Can we do a voice? Everybody in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Welcome, Susie. Let's stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As a reminder to the public, anyone wishing to speak at first call, public invited to be heard, you'll need to add his or her name to the list outside the council chambers. The list has been pulled, so if you haven't had a chance to sign up, the list is over by our city clerk's office and you can sign up there. Only those on that list will be invited to speak at the first call, public invited to be heard. Speakers who do not place their names on the list will have the opportunity to speak during final call, public invited to be heard, and anyone wishing to speak on an individual hearing item are asked to add their name to the speaker list for each particular item. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes, and we would like your name and address, please. We have the April 11th, 2023 minutes that we need to approve. Can I have a motion? So that's been moved by Councilor Waters, seconded by Councilor McCoy. Is there any discussion on those minutes? Seeing none, let's vote. And that carries unanimously. Do we have any agenda revisions or submissions of documents?
We do not, Mayor.
Do any of the councilors have motions to direct the city manager to add agenda items to future agendas? Seeing no one on the list, I do actually have a couple. I move to direct staff to add Jeff Cahoon to the general business part of a future agenda. Whoops, I need to move this. To inform us of the Boulder County living wage discussion. So that's been moved by myself, seconded by Councilor McCoy. Do we have discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. That carries unanimously, and I do have one more motion. I move to direct staff to put on the next regular city council meeting, section 2.04.207, and other sections in disclosures and reporting of the Longmont Fair Campaign Finance Practice Act to discuss removing the language of a P.O. box as an address.
Second.
So that's been moved by myself, seconded by Councilor McCoy. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. That passes unanimously. Nope, no, it does not. That passes with Councilor Martin in opposition. So we now have the city manager's report.
Mayor,
Council, I don't have a report, but I did want to draw your attention to item 9F on the consent agenda, just to make sure that you caught that we were asking for $21,000 as part of that item from council contingency, so we can do the survey work with the youth of our community.
Okay, great. Thank you. We have one special report, and that's a proclamation. This proclamation is designating April 24th through May 1st, 2023 as Barbershop Harmony Week in Longmont, Colorado. Whereas the International Barbershop Harmony Society was organized 85 years ago on April 11th, 1938, the Longmont chapter of the society, known as the Longs Peaks Chorus, was chartered 75 years ago on April 24th, 1948, and whereas both the Barbershop Harmony Society and the Longs Peak Chorus are dedicated to sharing the distinctively American barbershop style of a cappella harmony and appreciation for its rich African musical traditions with audiences everywhere through the universal language of music. And whereas both the Barbershop Harmony Society and the Longs Peak Chorus actively support vocal music programs in schools, communities, and other singing organizations through grants and scholarships, music festivals and competitions, training, and provisions of talent, expertise, and musical resources. And whereas the Longs Peak Chorus has a proud tradition of performing in Longmont and throughout northern Colorado, has demonstrated musical quality and performance excellence, has enriched the culture of the community with annual shows, holiday performances, corporate and civic events, outreach to underserved groups, and singing Valentines, and whereas singing in harmony has clear benefits for personal health and well-being, for building healthy communities and reducing barriers across diverse cultures, for engaging youth in healthy cross-generational activities that foster positive self-identities, and for embracing all singers regardless of age, background, race, gender, spiritual belief, or political opinion. Now therefore, I, Joan Peck, Mayor, by virtue of the authority vested in me and the City Council of the City of Longmont, do hereby proclaim the week of April 24th through May 1st, 2023 as Barbershop Harmony Week in Longmont, and invite all citizens to explore and enjoy this unique style of vocal music and harmony. Would this barbershop quartet please, do you have anything that you would like to state? And then I think you're probably going to sing it to us.
Wrong? Okay. Thank you, Mayor Peck. My name is David Waddell. I'm here tonight representing the Longs Peak Chorus, and with me is my quartet, naturally aged. So on behalf of the Longmont chapter and Longs Peak Chorus, we want to thank you, Mayor Peck. We're very proud and honored to accept the proclamation. But now I'd like to introduce the quartet. Singing lead, all the way from Parker, Colorado, Jim Hopper. And now singing bass from Tinmouth, Colorado is Ron Black, our esteemed chorus director. And singing baritone, also from Tinmouth, is Jim Cole. And I happen to be the tenor, and I'm still living in Longmont after 56 years with my wife. Okay, the proclamation read, discussed, or talked about singing Valentines and performances. The proclamation, like I said, it gives what our story is about barbershop. But as far as singing Valentine is concerned, for the past 30 years, quartets made up from members of the Longs Peak Chorus has been singing Valentines all over the Longmont area. And this is a real good fundraiser for our chapter, and it provides a lot of enjoyment for a lot of unsuspecting ladies, and even some men. We sing to men once in a while. The Longmont chapter has 43 members at this time, with around 30 members singing in our performance chorus. The Longs Peak Chorus has been performing in the Longmont area for all these 75 years. So at this time, I'd like to mention the fact that our chorus and quartets, along with choirs from the Niwot High School and the Erie High School choirs, are going to be having a show, performance. It's a celebration of our 75 years, and this will be at the Niwot High School on May 5th and 6th, Friday night and Saturday afternoon. If you're interested, we hope you are, you can go to our website, longspeakchorus.org, and you find all the information and find out how you can buy tickets. We'd like to see everyone there. It's going to be a great show. So at this time, I'd like to have my quartet sing a simple little song. This is a song that we would typically sing when we're doing a singing Valentine. And again, I want to thank Mayor Peck and the council for this proclamation. Thank you. Gather around. Let me call you sweetheart, I'm in love with you. Let me hear you whisper that you love me too. Keep the love light glowing in your eyes so true. Let me call you sweetheart, I'm in love with you. Let me call you sweetheart, I'm in love with you. I'm in love with you. Again, thank you, Mayor and Council.
Would you like to have a picture?
Okay. You want to break your camera? Just so long as you get
If I can get you all to moving a little bit closer together. Wonderful. All right. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
That was a great way to start. So our next one is the presentation on adoption of a Vision Zero program, and I would like to invite Jim Angstead and Phil Greenwald to present this item. If you can put Vision Zero to a harmony, that would be great.
Yeah, following those guys is not going to be easy. Good evening, Mayor Peck, City Council members. I'm Jim Angstadt, Director of Engineering Services. With me is Phil Greenwald, Transportation Planner, Manager. This evening, we want to provide you with some information, a little more information on Vision Zero, which is, you'll also see as item 9N on the consent agenda for adoption of the resolution. Okay. All right. I gotta click on that. There we go. So Vision Zero, we've heard a lot about it. Vision Zero is primarily, it's a strategy to eliminate all traffic fatalities and severe injuries while increasing safe, healthy, and equitable mobility for all. There's not a lot of there's no hidden agenda here with this. It is a different strategy than what we are currently utilizing for exercising transportation safety in our roads. It's a different approach to what we do now. It recognizes that people will make mistakes, but the road systems and related policies would be designed so those inevitable mistakes do not result in severe injury or death on our transportation system. It is a multidisciplinary and individual community approach. It brings together, to start it out for the action plan, brings together a diverse group of local stakeholders to address this problem, which is not the norm. Currently, we have transportation engineers making decisions. This brings together the users of the roadway. Those stakeholders will include some city council, our transportation advisory board, public safety, public works, community and neighborhood resources, planning, school districts, our communications team, neighborhood groups, and residents. Some of the core elements of a Vision Zero program are leadership and commitment. There's a political and ongoing commitment, which is the resolution tonight. That starts off how we go down this road for Vision Zero. Multidisciplinary leadership and authentic engagement, that would be the task force that we need to create to start the action plan. That action plan is the strategic planning that's going to give us the guidelines for how we're going to take this program on. The action plan then leads to project delivery, which is the implementation of that action plan down the road. Part of the elements are also data-driven approach, transparency, and accountability. It's an equity-focused analysis for some of the programs. It's a commitment for an equitable approach, prioritizing engagement and investments in traditionally underserved communities. It's a proactive systemic planning. It's a system-wide based approach to safety is used to identify and address top risk factors and mitigate potential crashes and crash severity. Responsive hotspot planning. It'll involve creating a map of our fatal and serious injury crash locations, and that would be regularly updated and used to help us guide some of the actions. Comprehensive evaluations and adjustments. Routine evaluations of all safety work would be made public and shared with decision makers to inform priorities, budgets, and updates. Part of this would involve, as we create the action plan and implement it, is updates to that action plan. That over time, the city could change, transportation systems could change. We want to be able to update that action plan on a regular basis. Other communities have done it every 3 to 5 years. So kind of their goal is safe roadways and safe speeds for all of our vulnerable users. Some of that will involve complete streets, which would be, that concept's integrated into the community-wide plans to encourage a safe, well-connected transportation system for all of our users. One of the contexts of that is appropriate speeds. Most of our fatalities occur in areas or roads which have higher speeds. We'll be looking at adjusting those speeds to make for safer roadways. So getting started, we want to outline kind of what our approach is going to be. First step is going to be adopting that Vision Zero commitment tonight. The next steps would involve, shortly thereafter, creating a task force that would be charged with leading the planning effort for the action plan. In conjunction with that, we're going to be bringing some more staff on board this year, which would involve a new position, which is a Vision Zero manager or coordinator to help lead the effort. We would also be procuring consulting assistance. We'll be putting together an RFP to assist with creation of this action plan. And will be undertaken in conjunction with the transportation mobility plan that Phil is leading. Next steps in developing the action plan, and that action plan would be implementing clear strategies, the owners of those strategies, interim targets, timelines, and performance measures. Some of the elements of that action plan is a robust data network. We've already gotten started on that. The city has a pretty strong network of data, a strong database for accidents. What we don't have is currently an updated network of volumes of vehicles on our roads and speeds. We do spot checks and collect data here and there, but the robust data network would be collecting it on a regular basis everywhere in the city. Part of the elements also are setting measurable goals with clear timelines for implementation. Accountability, transparency, prioritizing roadway design with safety over speed. Very often we look at trying to move cars and move them faster. We have to change that manner of how that thinking and push safety over speed. Again, focus on speed management. Also educating everybody on strategies that we're doing in a transparent manner. And then enforcement is equitable. So future steps, in conjunction with the action plan, we'd be taking on the transportation mobility plan. We're getting started with that this quarter. And then after the action plan has been developed, follow-up is the implementation of it. That's the future in future years. There would be reporting to City Council. I noted here annually, that can be more often. We have one of the other conditions in this is as we are taking on other projects in our capital improvement program, we're going to be doing evaluations to ensure that components of the action plan from Vision Zero are included in those CIP projects. Some closing thoughts. Vision Zero action plan is specific to a local community. What is done in other cities may not be appropriate for ours, and it is a different way of approaching safety. So successfully incorporating Vision Zero will include expenditures in traffic safety and infrastructure. We are currently beginning the budget process for 2024. We have programmed in or will be programming in dollars for Vision Zero for some of the improvements we would need to take on in 2024, and then dollars as well each year in our 5-year budget. It's going to require resources in program coordination and education. We'd also be looking as part of the budget to ask for additional FTEs to help us support the program. It also, one of the things, this is going to take time. So we ask for patience in the results. So all modes, I noted all modes must be safe, comfortable, and reliable, and that's the purpose of the upcoming transportation mobility plan as well. With that concludes the presentation.
Thank you, Jim. Do we have any questions from council? I have one. When you talk about the task force, Jim, is there a process for anyone who wants to serve on that task force? Or is it possible or even feasible for the Transportation Advisory Board to be the task force?
I think when we look at the Vision Zero program and the network we read, it is I think the TAB could lead that effort, but I don't think you want them to be the exclusive task force. I think you're going to want representatives from all around the community.
Great.
I think how we get to the task force, what I visualized is similar to the Climate Emergency Task Force, is that we put a call out for volunteers to help us out. We ask certain members of the community to be a part of that. So that's kind of, I think, how we're gonna approach it.
Great, thank you. Seeing no other questions, thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you all.
Whoops, I see Councilor Waters is on now.
Thanks, Mayor Peck. Jim, when we had the first kind of glimpse of Vision Zero when we were in the conference room a number of months ago, I had some questions then. I don't know. I don't want to pressure too hard on these, but I still think they're relevant, and maybe they're not answerable right now, but I do think they need to be answered at some point. When you talk about accountability, I still wonder what does that look like in this context, and who is accountable and for what?
So I think as you craft that action plan would detail that of certain objectives you have in the plan, you would assign a champion for those who would be accountable for those items. So as we create that plan, I think you have to assign we're gonna be assigning, who's responsible for certain parts of the plan. And that would be the accountability piece, as well as coming back to council with annual reporting of success or recommendations to move the plan forward.
That sounds like a delegation for implementation, which makes sense. I'm not certain where that takes me in terms of accountability. And, maybe it's not answerable tonight. And I probably won't be sitting as a member of the council that deals with this, but I hope somebody pushes hard on how will accountability here be any different than how accountability is looked in other parts of the city? Because I don't think we're consistent or even across the city. I'm looking at Harold now, but because I do think it's a citywide concern. So I'd be curious how this sets an example for what accountability citywide could look like, should look like, for whom, and so what, right? And how to use it as a way to drive kind of a virtual cycle of improvement, right? That's, in its essence, what I think accountability ought to be used for. I heard you say that every plan is unique to a municipality. I understand that because we're a fairly unique municipality. So it probably is difficult to say, give me some examples of measurable goals in the context of Vision Zero initiatives that have occurred around the world, because this is an international movement or initiative. Understanding that they wouldn't be Longmont goals, but it would be useful to see, here are goals from the 3 or 4, I asked this question when we were in the conference room. Show me the cities that have adopted Vision Zero that could point to measurable results. And there was a response, but I'd still be curious to know what are the for those cities you would point to say, this is where it's working, and here's an example of a measurable goal in that city that could be adapted or not, but would be relevant to what they wanted to accomplish and the evidence that they're accomplishing it. And then what does measurement look like? All those things kind of hang together in my mind. And I think at some point in time, I hope those are questions that people are going to ask when you come back with this. I'm going to assume that there's nothing I made a note as you were going through this, that I don't recall a conversation about budgeting in this year. So all of the budget implications are for 2024. So as we're going through those budget hearings, this will be called out specifically when we get to transportation.
There will be pieces of it specific to that in '24. I think what they're looking at with the position in terms of that, the Vision Zero manager position, they're looking at their existing budgets to try to get that started sooner rather than later.
So you're not talking about waiting until 2000. So at that point, it'd be useful to know what we're not going to do, whether it's transportation or somewhere else in Jim's staff in terms of engineering. What we're not going to be doing, because we're shifting money away from whatever that was to a new coordinator or manager for Vision Zero. Anyway, I'm a fan of Vision Zero in terms of its intent, reducing risks of serious or any kind of injury in our municipality, making our transportation systems as first priority safe for pedestrians, walking, rolling, and then what comes after that. But I do think these are big ideas that really do need more substance ultimately than what we've seen so far. And I have to say, I just make a confession. How many years ago were we talking about, I was talking about, I think others were as well, about the future of transportation? And this isn't your concern. It is mine. Because what was driving my question at the time was all of our conversations about parking structures, how much we're going to invest in structures that some futurists suggest are going to be dinosaurs in the relatively near future because of ride-hailing services and autonomous vehicles and that whole kind of potential future. And I remember asking, and I don't know how many times, well, could we just have a session on what is the future of transportation? What should we all be anticipating in the year 2030 or beyond, as we're now going to put money into parking structures? What will the needs look like, a decade or even a few years from And we never did have that conversation, to my recollection, or to what was satisfying to me. I still think it's a relevant question, not just about parking, but what does transportation, larger scale, at least at a municipal level, look like in benchmarking in 2028 or 2030 or 2035, or to the end of Envision Longmont. I just think council members are going to make more informed decisions if we knew that, as we're talking about Vision Zero and whatever the financial implications are. I think that's a piece of it that we never got to. We've asked for it. I think we were budgeted for it last year, never got to that conversation. And I think that would have been real helpful when we're talking about Vision Zero in the context of that, a longer-term vision for what's coming. So you're off the hook. Those are just my comments.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. So we're now at the first call, public invited to be heard. And I'd like to remind the people that are on the list that we would like your name and address, and you have 3 minutes. The first person is Georgette Johnston.
Good evening, and Georgetta Johnston, 320 Homestead Parkway, Longmont, Colorado. And Mayor and all the councilmen, thank you for listening to me. I read the Times call, and what brought me was, what the main thing was, one of the things that's brought me is, I still think we need an indoor skating rink for the youth. And so I just want to bring that up because I know you were given some money, and I think that's a good thing. I don't think we should have to go out of town like we do. That's one thing I want to put in that I think we need to do. And then I'm still talking about the streets and the roads, why they're not getting taken care of better. I want a good city. That's why I come to talk, because I've lived here for many, many years. Also, the buffet restaurants, I feel like we need buffet restaurants. And then also, I feel like we need better department clothing stores, because otherwise our business is going out of town. So I feel like I live here. I want a good city of Longmont, so I'm bringing suggestions to everybody because I feel like we all work together. And I thank you for doing a wonderful job, because you do. And I want to read something funny. You can't see haters when you have love glasses on. That's kind of a cute thing to say, but thank you for listening to me. And we do need that. And I hope a bunch of you are hearing some way, somehow, because that would really be good. It would be something for the youth, the older, the young, and all ages. So, Lord bless you. Keep doing a wonderful job. Thank you for listening to me. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Georgetta. Scott Cook.
Good evening, Mayor Peck and members of City Council. My name is Scott Cook. I'm the CEO for the Longmont Area Chamber of Commerce, 528 Main Street. The Chamber's Policy Committee and Board have taken a careful look at the proposed Center for Arts and Entertainment. Our process for taking positions is at times a slow process as it engages two different groups which represent a wide group of industries and business size. I mention our process as it enables for a lot of discussion and questioning, which helps us arrive at thoughtful positions on behalf of our business community. The Longmont Chamber supports the Center for Arts and Entertainment, and we ask that it be placed on the ballot for the Longmont residents to decide this fall. This post-COVID time is not an easy one for many of our business owners, with the possibility of property taxes in the future to fund the facility. This is not a decision that we came to quickly. However, business owners know the importance of making investments in our future, and we believe it is time to make this investment for the future of Longmont and our economic well-being. We are comfortable with the fact that the Longmont Alliance for Arts and Entertainment has pledged to raise $35 million before there are any new taxes or bonds over the course of 5 years. This helps both the Longmont business and resident recover still from the lingering impacts of the pandemic and the current economy, as well as to ensure the project is far less expensive than it could be for the public. Again, the Longmont Chamber supports having the Center for Arts and Entertainment on the ballot later this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Brooklyn, excuse me, Brooklyn Coldstone.
Hello, Council. My name is Brooklyn Goldstone. I reside at 1107B Mountain Drive, and I attend Silver Creek High School. I speak to you today as an artist and as a youth in favor of the creation of a Center for Arts and Entertainment. As a dancer, its creation would allow so much freedom to showcase my art with my teachers, teammates, friends, and share it with my community. The center would also provide an invaluable opportunity for the youth of Longmont to be exposed to the arts and the cultures they represent. As a member and future vice president of the Longmont Youth Council, it is my duty to provide the youth of this community with enriching and life-enhancing experiences. The center will serve as a hub for creative minds and enable them to explore their creativity in various forms like music, dance, theater, and visual arts. Moreover, it will foster a sense of community and connection among the youth who share their passion for the arts. I believe this is a crucial step toward investing in our future of our community and providing our youth with the resources they need to succeed. On the other side of the spectrum, it would provide all citizens of Longmont with the ability to watch and experience the various arts that our community has to offer. Please vote to put the Longmont Center for Arts and Entertainment on the ballot. I appreciate your time and consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Brooklyn. Francisco Borja.
Good evening, Mayor Peck and members of the City Council. My name is Francisco Borja. I live at 1420 Renaissance Drive in Longmont. I'm currently a band teacher at Meade High School in St. Vrain Valley School District, as well as the conductor of the Longmont Concert Band, which is a local community group of professionals and amateurs that like to get together and perform wind band music. I stand before you today to speak about the construction of the Center for Arts and Entertainment here in Longmont. As a music teacher, I experience the positive impact of the performing arts every day. Students are energized and engaged in an activity that promotes collaboration, self-improvement, and a safe environment to make mistakes and grow as human beings. These are aspects that connect them to a world of possibility within their individual lives. A comprehensive arts education can awaken inspiration, foster a sense of community, and create a structure that empowers the very best part of ourselves. Recently, as in last week, SVVSD was named as one of the best communities for music education by the National Association of Music Merchants, an organization founded in 1901 with a mission to strengthen the music products industry and promote the pleasure and benefits of making music. This is an award that was given to only 830 school districts nationwide out of almost 13,000 school districts currently operating and surveyed. SVVSD was also one of only 2 school districts within the entire state of Colorado to be given this distinction. This award is a testament to the unending work that arts teachers, and not just music, endeavor in every single day in our classrooms. Our call for a dedicated performance space has not only resonated with the members in our organizations, but we have also gained an endorsement from the St. Vrain Valley Education Association because they understand the value that the arts bring to our community. Although I speak mainly as a musician, the sentiments I've put forth today are shared by all performers. There is a vibrant and exciting art scene in Longmont due to a collection of uniquely talented educators, performers, collaborators, and humans whose work is united in common cause. I urge you to empower the brilliant work that is already happening within our community and add the Arts Center to the ballot this November. Thank you.
Thank you, Francisco. Kent Jacobson.
Mayor Peck, council members, my name is Kent Jacobson. I live at 1438 Onyx Circle in Longmont, and I'm here on behalf of the Friends of the Longmont Museum. With all the discussion about performing arts, we're proud of where we want that to happen for sure, but we don't want to lose sight of the fact that the museum is a cultural community center and needs the continued support of the city and the citizens of the city of Longmont. It ranges from childhood education to field trips, to cultural endeavors at the Stewart Auditorium, and I do want to thank the Stewart Family Foundation indeed for the recent donation of $1 million to the museum. The reason I'm here is because the museum is about to embark on a major capital campaign, and we would like the full support of the city and all the citizens within it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kent. Lidwina Clements?
Good evening, Mayor Peck and council. I'm here today for, related to another proclamation.
Lidwina, can we have your
Yes.
name and address,
Oh,
please?
I'm sorry,
No, that's
Lidwina
fine.
Clemens, 3525 Larkspur Drive.
Thank you.
Next Thursday, May 4th, is the 72nd year our nation has officially observed a yearly National Day of Prayer. The bill signed April 17th, 1952. It stated the president shall set aside and proclaim a suitable day each year as a national day of prayer on which the people of the United States may turn to God in prayer and meditation at churches, in groups, and as individuals. On May 5th, 1988, President Reagan signed into law the designation of the first Thursday in May as the annual observance for National Day of Prayer. On a yearly basis, the sitting president of our United States issues a proclamation. President Biden, in his official proclamation on May 5th, 2022, stated, "I call upon the citizens of our nation to give thanks in accordance with their own faiths and consciences for our many freedoms and blessings, and I invite all people of faith to join me in asking for God's continued guidance, mercy, and protection." President Reagan, in his official proclamation of May 7, 1981, stated, "I ask all who believe to join with me in giving thanks to Almighty God for the blessings He has bestowed on this land and the protections He affords to us as a people. Let us as a nation join together before God, fully aware of the trials that lie ahead and the need, yes, the necessity for divine guidance. With unshakable faith in God and the liberty which is heritage, we as a free nation will surely survive and prosper. It is our privilege to set aside yet another nationally recognized day of prayer this next Thursday, the 4th of May. We invite each of you and your families to join several churches and organizations in our community as we meet in the evening, 6 p.m. at New Creation Church, directly west of the wonderful Roosevelt Park, and to collectively worship and pray for our community, government, businesses, families, our state, and our nation. I have an invite for each of you, which includes the 2023 prayer guide for the nonpartisan presidential prayer team, and we look forward to seeing you next Thursday evening. So I do have a copy. Thank you. I do have a copy for each of the council members.
Lidwina, if you want to give it to our city clerk at the end. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Susan Alling.
Mayor Peck, City Council, thank you for having us here. Susan Alling, I'm at 640 Gooseberry Drive. With school vacation only 5 weeks away, we are approaching another stretch of 9 weeks, highlighting our lack of venue for senior citizens, especially those engaged in the very popular Silver Sneakers program. Day campers will be attending the well-funded summer program at the Memorial Building. This means for our 10:30 a.m. Monday and Wednesday Silver Sneakers class, with typically 35 attendees, 20 or so will be unable to attend because the class will be moved, as it has been in past years, to the much smaller fitness salon. It's on top of the stage, it's poorly ventilated, and very noisy, making it difficult to hear the instructor over the exuberance of our day campers. I have brought this issue of lack of venue for seniors to the following people over the course of the past year, both individually and as a member of the Senior Advisory Board. Our retired manager, Michelle Waite, Brandy Queen, our interim manager, Ronnie Manus, our current manager, Golf and Recreation Services Manager Jeff Friesner, Recreation Area Supervisor Ben Wagner, Fitness Specialist Carla Mathers, Fitness Instructors Lynette Lowe and Kim Nix, Senior Recreation Program Supervisor Amanda Alberto, and Ward 2 Representative Marcia Martin. I believe that an additional senior center and/or expansion to the current senior center needs to be a priority. There is no room for growth, and the senior center is literally busting at the seams. I am sure you're all aware that in the last 20 years, the population of Longmont has grown exponentially, especially so for my demographic, 65 plus. People literally come to Longmont because of our senior center. It's time that the city recognizes that, and I really hope it happens in my lifetime. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Susan Topol?
Mayor and council, I want to thank you. I've only been here 8 years, and you have the best senior place for me to go. They solve so many problems. I've seen others with problems, mental, emotional. They meet and make friends. I've been to the one in Boulder when I first got here, and then I went to the one in Lafayette. You're terrific. They come. I met someone from Louisville who was coming to ours. You have a great place. It is crowded, and I was told, Susan told me, that you cannot build where it is located now because of something with the soil underneath. But I know that there is new kinds of construction that maybe you can investigate, because I don't know what's under there, but it's beautiful land, and I would hate to see it not be used, besides just the grass, which is nice. But there was one, oh, and the reason I would like it there, I mean, this is gonna be after I'm dead, so this is for the future seniors. If you can build there, because it's located in the center. There are seniors on the east, there are seniors on the west, and it's perfect for them, those who can live near Main Street and they can get to. If you move it to where the Silver Creek is, you know, that big field over there by Altona, it'll be difficult to get to many of those seniors. That's mainly great for the youngsters. That's a more of a rich neighborhood, and they'll be happy to go there. But please investigate the ground by the senior center and expand there. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Lily Hart?
Good evening, Council and Mayor Peck. I would like to take a brief moment to introduce the rest of my group. We're here on behalf of the Silver Creek Leadership Academy at Silver Creek High School, which is located at 4901 Nelson Road. We're here to discuss our capstone projects with you. During the year of 2021, the Children's Hospital of Colorado declared youth mental health a statewide emergency. I am here tonight to talk with you all about my capstone project, Let's Talk Feelings. Throughout this past year, I have worked alongside the counseling department at Eagle Crest Elementary School with Angela Kerbel as my mentor to rebuild their social emotional learning curriculum for their 5th grade students. Social emotional learning is teaching kids to build self-awareness, self-control, and other vital interpersonal skills. Since August, I have covered topics such as thought diffusion, anxiety management skills, breathing exercises and meditations, anger management skills, and effective versus ineffective communication styles. Every lesson I have taught has had one underlying message: all emotions are valid. I aim to teach the children at Eagle Crest that no emotion is good or bad, and that all emotions deserve to be expressed and to increase the empathy and vulnerability within each student. To foster an educational environment where their mental well-beings matter as much as their physical well-beings do. Next year, I plan to pursue a double major in psychology and early elementary education at the University of San Diego, and I will be a part of the Weber's Honors College to continue implementing my ideas into a classroom. Thank you.
Good luck, Lily. Mia Hunt.
Hello, Mayor Peck and City Council members.
Mia, would you mind pulling that microphone up? There you go.
My name is Mia Hunt, and my address is 4901 Nelson Road, Longmont, Colorado. This year, as a part of my senior capstone project, I have been given the opportunity to intern for a nonprofit organization called Sustainable Resilient Longmont. We are a volunteer-driven establishment devoted to making a difference here in the city of Longmont through sustainable practices. After founding Longmont's first Earth Day in 2015, SRL has implemented numerous other programs in our community, such as 100% renewable energy and zero waste. Through our work, we hope to tackle prominent environmental problems and spread hope for the future. For the duration of my internship, I have managed a social media series called Simple Solution Sundays, which aim to teach our audience simple and easy ways to be more sustainable. Thus far, we have covered topics such as holiday recycling, how to be environmentally conscious as consumers, the importance of composting and reducing waste, and commonly overlooked topics like phantom energy. Earlier in the school year, I helped to run booths at Climate Action Sunday events as well as the Electric Vehicle Fair at the Boulder County Fairgrounds. Following this, I wrote the event summaries which highlighted these things for our website. Presently, I am helping to design a new website for SRL as well as planning for upcoming social media posts. This will include sustainable usage of water and energy, as well as tips and tricks regarding transportation. You can find these posts on the SRL Facebook and Instagram page. Thanks to the support of my mentors and teachers, I have grown greatly from this project as both an individual and a leader. The lessons I have learned from this internship, I know I will be able to take with me into my future. And next year, I will be going to CU Boulder for biomedical engineering. Thank you for your time.
Good luck, Mia. Joy Ivan.
Good evening, City Council members. My name is Joy Ivan. My address is 4901 Nelson Road, Longmont, Colorado. And for my capstone project, Care and Comfort, I am interning with the Together Project, a nonprofit organization with a network of youth homeless shelters. Our goal is to end youth homelessness, and to do this, we create comfortable and safe environments, opportunities for employment, access to education, and have an all-around supportive community. For my internship, I have been delivering monthly meals to their shelters with the help of the community to collect and put together homemade meals. I have been delivering these meals to the Chase House in South Boulder. My mentors for this project have been Brianna Byron and Megan Bruce. I am very grateful for their support and help to get my capstone started, as well as everyone else who have helped me put together the meals. In the future, the fall of 2023, I plan to go to CU Boulder for biology and join their IFI program, which is their integrated physiology. I have gotten immense support and positive feedback from my parents and other high school students about this project, and it has helped me grow as a person and helped me become more prepared to organize and run events. I've enjoyed working with Together, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everyone for learning about my senior capstone project. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. Liliana Perez.
Good evening, City Council members. My name is Liliana Perez, and my address is 4901 Nelson Road. My capstone project is an internship with From Nest to Wings, which is a nonprofit organization that provides information about college applications to first-generation college students. I myself am also a first-generation college student, which is why I chose to work with them. The application process has been difficult to navigate for me, so this seemed like the perfect fit. After meeting with my mentors, we agreed I would write a column in their monthly newsletter. The column would highlight my personal experience with the college application process. Because I am a first-gen college student, taking a gap year and exclusively applying to international universities, there has been a never-ending list of potential topics I could write about for this. The newsletter comes out the first Sunday of every month, and my columns have been a part of it ever since September of 2022. I've written about a wide range of topics, including my experiences with the process, gap year opportunities, and deferred admission. For example, I learned that European universities have a very different application process than ours, typically don't offer deferred admission options, and oftentimes require entrance exams to get into their schools. Chatting with my counselor, emailing with college representatives, and doing extensive research has both helped me with my column and with preparing for college applications this coming fall. In summary, that is my capstone project. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Liliana. Kira Wilhelmi.
Good evening, City Council members. My name is Kira Wilhelmi and my address is 4901 Nelson Road, Longmont, Colorado. I partnered with the organization Dude Be Nice for my capstone project. This organization inspires people to treat themselves and others with more kindness throughout day-to-day life. I wanted to create a positive atmosphere within my school and extend that into my local community. My goals for my project include the following: recognize people and organizations within the community who have made a positive contribution, provide ideas for random acts of kindness that can be done every day, and raise money for SCLA. Throughout the year, I have done various activities to recognize certain groups and people in the community, such as bringing treats to the office for our SRO and teachers, making Valentines for the children at the Children's Hospital, creating a positive message board for the students in our hallways, and organizing a pickleball tournament with my mentor to fundraise for SCLA, where we raised about $500 total. My mentor, Stacy Stallings, is a retired Longmont police officer and was a former school resource officer at Silver Creek High School. During her time at Silver Creek as the SRO, Stacy taught Student Police Academy and restorative justice practices. She became involved in the Leadership Academy as a mentor to seniors as they develop and complete their capstone projects. Stallings has been a big help throughout the year with my project, and I am grateful for all I have learned in the class and through my experiences with my project. Thank you.
Thank you, Kira. Grace Maroney.
Good evening, Mayor Peck and City Council members. My name is Grace Maroney, and my address is 4901 Nelson Road. Running and athletics in general are tough, especially when you're trying to balance a school workload, a social life, a job, other passions, and rest. Before I really committed to athletics, I wish I had known how to balance all of the important factors of being a well-rounded athlete, student, and community member. Although I'm grateful for the mistakes I've made through athletics, for giving me the opportunity to learn, I want to help alleviate some of the simple problems I faced so that other young athletes don't have to go through the same experiences. My capstone project, Kids on the Run, aims to teach the 100 Mile Club members of Eagle Crest Elementary School lessons that will be applicable to their future athletic careers and hopefully show them that running is a great sport to pursue. In addition to 100 Mile Club's before school running sessions, I plan and host monthly meetings. Each meeting, we play games that focus on different aspects of athletics, such as teamwork, leadership, communication, rest, confidence, and a lot of other things. Then we talk about how these factors are important to athletics and to our entire lives. We usually end with some time to run and talk about the lesson. Since our community is very active, I hope to teach the young athletes about things that would have been helpful for me to know before I got really invested in running. My mentors are both Eagle Crest Elementary School teachers and active members of the Longmont community. I've been extremely lucky to have their support and guidance throughout my project. They always remind me how spectacular our district's teachers are. It's been a really rewarding experience, giving me the opportunity to form great connections with my mentors and the kids I work with. And besides, you always have fun when you're running. Post-graduation, I will attend the University of Utah to study nursing and run Division I cross country and track. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. Jules Wanderer? No, Jules isn't here. Let's go to Ming Liu.
Good evening, City Council members. My name is Mingyao Liu, and my address is 4901 Nelson Road, Longmont, Colorado. My SCLA project revolves being an intern at the Longmont Chamber of Commerce, a nonprofit organization that works and provides services to the local businesses around the Longmont area. Recently, there was a survey sent out to local businesses, and working with my mentor, Scott Cook, who spoke to you earlier, I helped with researching, creating an outline, and taking notes for focus groups and more. My goal mainly with this internship is to help and learn as much as I can from each interaction I have with local business leaders, such as people like Stacy Cornet, the owner of Communication Concepts, and Forrest Brewer, who is a board member of the Longmont Chamber of Commerce. Next year, I am pursuing a finance degree at the Lead School of Business at CU Boulder. Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. And Mel, is there a Mel here? I didn't get your last name, I'm sorry.
I'll say it again though.
Okay.
Hello, City Council members. I'm Mel Campy. My address is 4901 Nelson Road, and I am the creator of Fusing the Gender Gap, a capstone project with Silver Creek High School. And I've been welding for about 2 years now. Did you know that in 2020, only 3.8% of welders were women? Which is bizarre considering that welding is a trade that requires only trade school before entering the workforce. The first time I personally walked into a welding shop, I noticed a serious lack of diversity. There were no women or non-traditional people in the room, and it felt very isolating. This experience is what inspired me to create my capstone project, Fusing the Gender Gap. The goal of this project is to change the lack of diversity in the welding field. This project is a series of classes with the purpose of encouraging women and other non-traditional students to explore welding as a career and to take the welding classes that the Career Elevation Technology Center has to offer. With these classes, I hope to ignite not only a love for welding, but to give the students the confidence so that they can explore more activities outside of the gender norms. My project has already successfully run a 4-day welding class in November at the Career Elevation Technology Center, with around 15 students participating in the 8th and 9th grade, and 6 people participating as mentors for the class, all of which were women or non-binary individuals currently taking welding classes at the CETC. In this class, the other mentors and I taught these students how to weld basic joints and use several different types of equipment that we have within the welding shop. We made boxes, flowers, houses, and each student was able to leave this class with a small project that they had created themselves with a little bit of help from the mentors. When the classes were over, multiple of the students came up to me, thrilled that they were able to get this opportunity and asking how they could continue welding. One even told me that they were excited to finally be able to weld with their father, and ultimately making this class a success in my mind, much to the thanks of my mentor, Bill Anthony, who is a welding teacher at the CETC and is unfortunately retiring this year. I have completed another smaller class recently where we had about 9 people participating and even more mentors than before. My goal to reach more people and share my love of the craft to as many people as possible has been a success, and I'm excited to see how the welding program at the CETC evolves, and maybe these classes truly did help manufacture a better future for the welding industry. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mel, and thank you to Silver Creek students, and good luck. The next one on our list is Mark Springfield. Nice music.
Mayor, Council, Mark Springfield, 2009 Calico Court. I'm here tonight to represent the Longmont Library Advisory Board and also acknowledge that there are those from the board and the Friends of the Library here in the audience tonight. My purpose is to make you aware of the discussions which occurred at our last meeting. A strong public library is essential to an equitable community. On April 17th, the Longmont Library Advisory Board unanimously approved the following. We support the inclusion of a ballot measure for a library branch on the November 2023 ballot. We are in agreement that the survey results show opportunity and support for the library, especially as an initiative that approached the 60% threshold of support deemed important. As well, we do not foresee organized opposition to this measure. We believe that as a community of nearly 100,000, Longmont requires a sustainably funded library. The board supports this ballot measure as a step towards the preferred level of services outlined in Longmont's Public Library Feasibility Study Phase 2. Over the last several years, the advisory board has unanimously supported options that would improve additional funding for the library, including both a general fund ballot initiative and an initiative for the formulation of a library district. Our ultimate goal is that the library be funded at the preferred level of service put forth by Seeger Consultant in the feasibility study, including the requirement for expanded spaces, a branch being one of those. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Lance Whitaker.
Mayor and Council, my name is Lance Whitaker. I live at 1750 Collier Street. And as many of you know, 17th and Collier is probably one of the most deadly intersections here in Longmont. So I look forward to whatever your plans are for that intersection. Although I don't have much hope for it. It is very, very dangerous. So anytime anybody's near that intersection, make sure your head's on a swivel. Today is National Zucchini Bread Day, so enjoy your zucchini bread. It's also National Telephone Day and National Library Week. And with the schools enforcing more and more book bans in the state, I would hope that you would support the library, because we need as many books on the shelf as we can get. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for your time.
Thank you, Lance. Elliot Moore.
Good evening. My name is Elliot Moore. I am the conductor of the Longmont Symphony Orchestra, and I am the spokesperson for the Longmont Alliance for Arts and Entertainment. My address is 515 Kimbark Street, Suite 105 in Longmont. I want to thank each of you for your leadership of our beloved city. As somebody in a position of leadership, I understand the joys of being of service to one's community, as well as the challenges that it poses. The 7 of you make the hard choices that help Longmont navigate its way to being the greatest version of itself. Last year, a friend visited me and noted that I needed to plant some trees around my home. This is a brilliant man. He studied physics and mathematics at Harvard, and therefore, whenever he asked me a simple question, something like, do you know when the best time is to plant a tree, I always get a little nervous. He could sense the gears in my head turning, and he decided to just answer the question for me. He said, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. But because nobody planted a tree here 20 years ago, now's the best time. The best time to have built a performing arts center in Longmont was 20 years ago. But because nobody did it 20 years ago, nobody maybe could accomplish it 20 years ago, now is the best time. The 7 of you know the people of Longmont. You know their willingness to vote for something that increases their taxes, and know that the people of Longmont have not voted to support, they have not voted to support an amenity in recent memory. If passed, we are proposing something that would require a major buy-in from the private sector before the people of Longmont get taxed. And like the tree, the seeds planted here and now, and possibly tonight, will blossom as we work together towards giving our community this much-needed facility. We will do our part to raise the initial capital for this project. And I ask you to consider what you can do to help make the Center for Arts and Entertainment a reality that the people of Longmont will vote for, so that the elderly couple in Longmont who doesn't feel safe driving to Denver and back, and the child with 2 working parents who don't have the time to take them to X, Y, or Z performance, and everyone in between, that everyone can have this amenity right here in their own backyard of Longmont. Thank you.
Thank you, Elliot. Antoinette Kemper.
Good evening. I'm Antoinette Kemper, 5th Avenue, and I still oppose Longmont officially adopting Vision Zero. No one will argue against seeking ways to prevent traffic-related fatalities, but while Vision Zero is supposed to be about saving lives, it's pretty obvious when reviewing the supporting documentation on the Vision Zero Network website that this program promotes the discriminatory equity and anti-law enforcement defund the police rhetoric. Law enforcement is a key component to any effort to stop traffic-related fatalities, yet Vision Zero seeks to restrict how police do their jobs based on alleged racism in law enforcement. It would essentially tie the hands of law enforcement, similar to the proposed House Bill 23-1169, which this council opposes. Further, if there's federal funding available for implementing traffic safety measures, it should be available without conditions, such as having to officially claim allegiance to some government-endorsed nonprofit. If saving lives is the objective, funding should be awarded based on the merits of city's proposed plans, period. The initiatives and concepts briefed earlier can be implemented without officially committing to Vision Zero. Why should we surrender local authority and become beholden to the objectives of an unelected nonprofit organization? The people of Longmont know what's best for Longmont. I 100% support instituting measures to stop traffic-related fatalities, but I adamantly oppose adopting Vision Zero. As I stated in my comments to council a couple of weeks ago, the purpose of Vision Zero is supposed to be saving lives. Planting the seeds of racial tension and division does not save lives. Labeling our police as racist does not save lives. Limiting the ability of law enforcement to do their job and protect this community does not save lives. Vision Zero is wrong for Longmont. Thank you.
Thank you, Antoinette. Mags Leach.
Good evening, Council, Mayor Peck. My name is Mags Leach. I live at 917 Sunset Street, number 3, Longmont, Colorado, and I'm officially a resident of Longmont as of 2 weeks ago, though I've been a part of this community since I moved here to Colorado in July. When I moved out here last summer, I left behind the life that I had on the East Coast. To say this was a big change is, well, an understatement. But there was one thing that I knew would be a constant for me and would be the best way for me to start to make connections and put down roots here: music. One of the first things I did after moving here was join the Longmont Concert Band. The first rehearsal I attended in the fall was, though I didn't know it at the time, the first regular season rehearsal for the band's new conductor, Francisco Borja. He started that rehearsal off by saying, whatever you have going on outside of this rehearsal, work, personal life, anything but the music, leave it at the door. That sentiment has carried me through all the rehearsals since, and I think has helped to build a committed, collaborative band that will only continue to grow. When we performed our first concert in October, I was a little surprised that we would be playing in a high school auditorium. With so many musical and performing arts groups in Longmont, the Longmont Symphony, the Centennial State Ballet, the Longmont Chorale, and the Longmont Theater Company, to name only a few, how could there not be a dedicated, shared performance space here? Since January, I've joined up with another performing arts group, the Longs Peak Stompers. Made up of only 9 players, some of us also play in the Longmont Concert Band, but some play in a variety of groups from Boulder to Denver. Hearing from just this small collective of musicians has made me realize how much music happens here in Longmont, and just how critical it is that we prioritize the performing arts here. My experience as a member of the performing arts community in Longmont in such a short amount of time have truly convinced me that not only is there a healthy desire for a performing arts center, there is an inherent need. I would ask, as a resident of Longmont and as a musician in our community, that the Longmont Center for Arts and Entertainment be added to the ballot this November. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Max. Tom Kurtz.
I'm Tom Kurtz. I've been a resident of Longmont for a little over 7 years now. I live at 1821 Signature Circle on the east side, northeast side of Longmont. I'm a retired hospital CEO of more than 40 years, and but I'm also a member of the Longmont Museum Advisory Board. But I'm speaking on behalf of myself as a resident of Longmont. Just a little information, as I'm sure many of us know, the museum's been around for a while, since 1936 in some form or other. Our mission statement is, I'm going to read it, is the Center for Culture in Northern Colorado, where people of all ages explore history, experience art, and discover new ideas through dynamic programs, exhibits, and events. We have a variety of programs that I became acquainted with as I became more familiar as a board member. We, besides our unbelievably comprehensive historical collection, we have a number of permanent and temporary exhibits, a variety of auditorium events such as lectures, concerts, film series, a number of children's programs, which I'm amazed how many that we do offer through summer camps, day camps, etc. We have concerts in the summer in our courtyard, and a first-class gift shop, and a very active fundraising department. And let's not forget our dedicated volunteer staff. Our master plan showed that because we're bursting at the seams many times, our total visitors are almost at 52,000 in 2022 at that particular location, of which over 55,000 were for our Discovery Day program with children, and over 8,000 at the auditorium. We're going to embark on our own $30 million capital campaign for the expansion of that museum. But as a member of the community, I'm asking the council to consider including us for our operating expenses as a result of the expansion in the November ballot that you're going to be considering soon. And, you know, we have such a shining star in Longmont with the museum, so let's keep it shining and make it even brighter for the future generations. But thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Tom. Kaylee Cordova.
Good evening, Council and Mayor Peck. I'm Callie Cordova. I live at 2184 Frontier Street in Longmont, and I've been in Longmont now for 16 years. I'm also a member of the Museum Advisory Board, and I'm here to really implore you to keep the museum in mind. I think that this is something that it's really exciting, the capital campaign that the museum is funding for its expansion, but it is important for the City Council to know that this will include increased operational costs, and that the employees who work at the museum work so hard. I knew about Discovery Days before I was a member of the board because I have 2 young children, and this is one of the most accessible, but it's also one of the most high-quality arts programs that's available in this entire region. And right now it's really spearheaded by one woman who does so much work. And she has to turn people away because there is not enough room for every child who wants to make art to do so. And this is also happening with art and SIP classes in the evening for adults who want to make art. These are classes where wait lists get filled up right away. People who have the ability to sign up for a wait list, we know that that is not an accessible way to manage something. This is something that everyone in our community should have access to, and the museum's expansion can help make that happen. And so I think that you're gonna see the Stewart family really step up and support this. I think we'll see the community really step up and support this, but we need City Council to do so as well, and to make sure that our museum can keep serving all of the population and really be accessible for everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kaylee. Strider.
Thank you. I was going to speak about education tonight. Strider Benston, 951 West 17th. But today we lost my friend and mentor, one of the greatest men in American history, who gave us music and history and education and democracy. Harry Belafonte gave us 96 years. Could you pass that around? Thanks. Yeah, 96 years of his life. And quick come a tally man, tally me banana. Daylight come and me wanna go home. 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot bunch. Side within there a black tarantula. Daylight come and me wanna go home. Day's a day, oh. Daylight come and me wanna go home. I used to work on the docks in Chicago on the night shift with my crew there for many years. And we used to sing that song while we were working. In 1963, 300 kids in Greenwood, Mississippi, were thrown in jail for trying to get a decent education. So Jim Foreman calls up Belafonte in New York and said, "We need money." He said, "I'll write you a check." "No, the banks are run by the Ku Klux Klan." "I'll write you a wire." No, the telegraph office is run by the Klan. They'll steal it. So Harry calls up Sidney Poitier, his friend, and they fly down to Atlanta and to Jackson and to Greenwood. And then a bunch of lights come on out in the darkness, and Sidney says, "Oh, the FBI is here." Harry said, "No, that's not the FBI, that's the Ku Klux Klan." And so the SNCC driver was able to get them into Greenwood alive, and they came up with the bail money, got the kids out of jail. And can you figure what would happen in this country if the Ku Klux Klan, as they intended, would have killed Harry Belafonte, Sidney Poitier, and stolen $75,000 cash, which they needed to get the kids out of jail? Here we are, and we're facing the same thing again, the threat to destroy our democracy, our society, our history, our education. And let's honor Harry Belafonte. We lost him today after 96 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Strider. Paige Lewis.
Good evening, Mayor Peck and council members. My name is Paige Lewis. I live at 805 Nelson Park Lane, and I'm here tonight in my capacity as chairperson of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. As you know, our board, also known as PRAB, is charged with advising city staff and city council on priorities, planning, management, and other topics related to the sustainability and care of our city's parks, open spaces, greenways, and recreation facilities. We do this based in large part on the conversations we have with community members, with our neighbors and others regarding their interests and concerns about these issues. I'm currently in my second term on the board, and among the many important topics our board has considered, the critical need for additional recreation facilities, specifically an additional recreation center, has been a consistent theme both from the board members and also from conversations with Longmont residents. This topic came up again during our most recent meeting where we discussed the results of the city's library, recreation, and culture funding opinion survey. Based on this conversation, we felt it important to pass a resolution re-emphasizing to City Council our continued strong support for a new recreation facility in Longmont, and also our support for the potential expansion of Union Reservoir that was communicated in those materials. And I will note that several other members of the board are here in the audience as well. We believe that the addition of a second multifaceted recreation facility is long overdue for a city of our size. And the combination of both a new indoor facility and expansion at Union Reservoir's outdoor amenities would significantly increase the access to recreational opportunities for a broad range of Longmonters, including those living in many different parts of the city. While we didn't include it in our resolution, we also discussed the accompanying need for the referenced upgrades to the current recreation center so that the result is two fully functioning facilities that meet the needs of Longmont's growing population. I know you're considering a wide range of opportunities for the potential ballot initiative, but I hope that you will continue to keep the addition of these recreation facilities at the top of your list. The staff communication provided in advance of this meeting suggests you may be considering taking the Union Reservoir piece out of consideration, which I might ask that you continue to consider retaining that portion, given both the public support and the opportunity it would provide for unique recreation amenities. I really appreciate, as do many others, it sounds like your interest in taking significant steps to increase the quality of life and amenities that are available to Longmont residents, and I look forward to listening to your further conversations on these issues tonight. And I might also add that if anyone is interested in talking more about the recreation center or potential recreation center, there is a public input meeting tomorrow night at the Senior Center at 6:30 as part of the recreation feasibility study. So I would encourage people to go to that meeting and share their thoughts about what might be included in that kind of a center. Thanks.
Thank you, Paige. Jessica Miller.
Good evening to all of you. Jessica Miller. I live at 1018 3rd Avenue here in Longmont. First, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm backing up getting a performing arts center built here in Longmont, and I am on the LAE committee for that. Doing this could open many doors in Longmont. In enjoyment, they're all tied to various avenues in performances such as orchestras, bands, theater, dancing, musical plays, comedy, opera, solo artists, many. The list goes on. Artists and various groups could have opportunities to perform, doing just that, performing, bringing joy to people here, people outside of Longmont who would like to come see as well. It would inspire others and plant seeds in others. And when I say planting seeds, I'm mainly thinking of kids. You know, that could plant seeds in a kid of things they would like to accomplish later in life, that they may already have an ability in, that they would know at that time. They'll see somebody up there on stage and just will go, wow, you know, I'd like to be like that. That happened to me when I was a kid, and I'm speaking for future children, current ones, opportunities that could come about. In addition, doing this would benefit numerous businesses in the city of Longmont with visitors who would attend the events that would happen. It does need to go on the ballot, though, this fall. And Longmont residents need to choose to take this step. A line that I came up with in the last week or so that kind of that does point towards what I'm trying to say tonight. And I'm saying this based on my personal experience as a musician. I've been active since I was 7, doing music, doing piano, doing French horn, singing, and in more recent years, writing some music as well. The numerous, countless keys I've found in the fields of music are what's kept me clicking in performance, enjoyment, writing, in various keys and on a steady track, despite a disability I deal with too. It's kept me stable. The profound impact of music in a person's life, disabled or not, is limitless and priceless. And that can last throughout somebody's whole life. And it also will touch the hearts of other people all around them. And you think of famous artists now out there and how it might touch your heart listening to one of their pieces one night, you know. So planting seeds in Longmont residents could make a difference later.
Thank you, Jessica. Korkut Onaran?
Good evening. Korkut Onaran, 800 Emery, Longmont, Colorado, 80501. I was here a few weeks ago and expressed my support for the Center of Arts and Entertainment initiative. This evening, I would like to add 2 points to that. Point 1, there will be a capital campaign. The bond will be issued after the capital campaign, only if the capital campaign is successful. Having the center in the ballot will help the capital campaign significantly. Any potential donor will take center much more seriously if it is in the ballot. That's something to be considered. Point 2, I'm not a performing artist. I'm an urban planner, architect. I also teach in the university as an adjunct faculty. In spite of my busy schedule, I donate my time to organize support for the center because I sincerely believe that it will connect us, it will strengthen our community. And I'm not the only one. There are many of us doing the same thing. In spite of our busy schedules, we donate our time to organize support for the center. Actually, some of us are here in the room this evening. Could you please identify yourself by standing up? Thank you. So instead of each of us coming here and taking 3 minutes of your time, we have decided to express our support for the center just by standing and saluting you. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Korkut. And that ends the first call, public invited to be heard. Thank you, everyone. Do we need a bio break up here? Let's take 5-minute bio break. I think we're ready to come back. Okay, it looks like everybody's here. Councilwoman Hidalgo Faring is here. And we are now at the consent agenda. Would you mind reading the items in the consent agenda into the record?
Absolutely, Mayor Peck. The ordinances on this consent agenda will be set for second reading and public hearing on May 9th, 2023. Item 9A is Ordinance 2023-21, a bill for an ordinance amending Chapter 1504, Section 1504.020, Table 1504.020, Table of Allowed Uses of the Longmont Municipal Code. 9B is Resolution 2023-30, a resolution of the Longmont City Council approving the intergovernmental agreement between the city and Northern Colorado Water Conservancy District for grant funding for collaborative water efficient landscape at Sandstone Ranch Nature Area. 9C is Resolution 2023-31, a resolution of the Longmont City Council approving the intergovernmental agreement between the city and the Longmont Housing Authority for accessibility improvements to various properties through the 2020 Community Development Block Grant Coronavirus Program. 9D is Resolution 2023-32, a resolution of the Longmont City Council approving the First Amendment to the intergovernmental agreement between the city and the Longmont Housing Authority for American Rescue Act funding for the 1764-1780 Hover Street Affordable Housing Project. 9E is Resolution 2023-33, a resolution of the Longmont City Council approving the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Longmont and Boulder County for funding towards the city's LEAD program to expand and add a harm reduction outreach specialist. 9F is Resolution 2023-34, a resolution of the Longmont City Council approving the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Longmont and Boulder County for funding towards the city's parenting support program. 9G is Resolution 2023-35, a resolution of the Longmont City Council approving the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Longmont and Boulder County for funding towards the city's Rewind program. 9H is Resolutions 2023-36, a resolution of the Longmont City Council authorizing agreements between the City of Longmont and Donald L. Owen for the purchase of real property at 1508 17th Avenue for the 17th Avenue Sidewalk Improvements Project. 9I is Resolution 2023-37, a resolution of the Longmont City Council authorizing agreements between the City of Longmont and Robert L. Kevin for the purchase of real property at 1408 17th Avenue for the 17th Avenue Sidewalk Improvements Project. 9J is Resolution 2023-38, a resolution of the Longmont City Council approving the intergovernmental agreement between the city and the Colorado Department of Transportation for grant funding for click-it or ticket seatbelt enforcement. 9K is Resolution 2023-39, a resolution of the Longmont City Council approving the revocable permit and agreement between the city and Able to Sail for summer camps at Union Reservoir. 9L is Resolution 2023-40, a resolution of the Longmont City Council approving the revocable permit and agreement between the city and Avid for Adventure for summer camps at Union Reservoir. 9M is Resolution 2023-41, a resolution of the Longmont City Council authorizing loans from fund balance in the city's fleet fund to the DDA Construction Fund and the DDA Arts and Entertainment Fund, providing for repayment of the loans from the DDA Tax Increment Income Fund. 9N is Resolution 2023-42, a resolution of the Longmont City Council committing to a Vision Zero program to achieve zero traffic fatalities and severe injuries among all road users. 9O is Resolution 2023-43, a resolution of the Longmont City Council in support of sustainable aviation practices, development, and amenities at Vance Brand Municipal Airport. 9P is approved request for $21,000 of City Council contingency funds to measure youth opinions and preferences on Longmont's allocation of Metropolitan Stadium District funds. 9Q is approve a capital campaign for improvements at the Longmont Museum. And 9R is approve 4 capital improvement program amendments.
Thank you very much. That was a lot of reading. So, Councilor Waters.
Thanks, Mayor Peck. I'd like to pull 9N from the consent agenda.
Okay. Are there any other councilors that would like to pull items? Seeing none, can I have a motion for the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda minus 9N.
Okay. All right, so that has been moved. The consent agenda minus 9N has been moved by Councilor McCoy, seconded by Councilor Martin. Let's vote. And that passes unanimously. So we go directly to the ordinances on second reading and public hearings on any matter. A is the public hearing regarding the second resolution of statutory compliance for the annexation of 150 Francis Street. 1A, A1 is R 2023-44. That resolution finding a parcel of land known as 150 Francis Street annexation, generally located east of Sunset Street and south of 3rd Avenue, eligible for annexation. I'm sorry, I am stumbling here. Are there any questions or comments from council on 2023? Seeing none, I'll open up the public hearing for this agenda item. Seeing no one from the council, can I have a motion? It's for R 2023-44. It is. So resolution 2023-44 was moved by Councilor Waters, seconded by Councilor Yarbrough. Let's vote. The second item is 2023-16, a bill for an ordinance making.
I'm sorry, Mayor. We just need the result of
Oh.
that last vote, sorry.
Thank you. So that carried unanimously. The second one is 2023-16, a bill for an ordinance making additional appropriations for expenses and liabilities of the City of Longmont for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2023. Are there any questions from council on this ordinance? Seeing none, I would open the public hearing on ordinance 2023-16. Seeing no one from the public, I would like to close the public hearing on this ordinance. Can I have a motion to pass and adopt? I move that we adopt ordinance 2023-16. So I made that motion. It was seconded by Councilor Waters. Let's vote. And that carries unanimously. The second one is 2023-17, a bill for an ordinance amending section 13.20.020, repealing and reenacting section 13.20.060, and amending section 13.20.090 of the Longmont Municipal Code on the Button Rock Preserve. Are there any questions from council on this ordinance? Seeing none, I'd like to open up the public hearing on ordinance 2023-17. Is there anyone that would like to speak on this ordinance?
Mayor, I do believe there were a few people on your list.
On this ordinance specifically?
I believe so.
Well, no, let's see. There's nobody on it. Nope. It was hidden under my multitude of pages up here. So, Heather Prentice. Is Heather Prentice here? She is signed up to speak on this ordinance. Kathy Whittam. Dawn Goodfrey.
Hi, oops. My name is Dawn Godfrey. I'm at 18080 County Road 1.
Can I just interrupt you for a minute?
Yes.
You are signed up to talk about 2023-17? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, that is the next ordinance we're going to read.
Oh.
No, that's
Okay.
my fault. So if you could just sit down on that very first chair, we'll call on you in a minute.
Mayor, we are on, I think we are on 17.
We're
Button
on-
Rock Preserve? Yes. My
You may come back up.
Now I'm not nervous anymore.
Good, but I am.
Okay. My name is Dawn Godfrey. I live at 18080 County Road 1. I have hiked Button Rock for years with my dog, Hank. I hike there 3 times a week all year long, walking the whole trail and then back down the road to the parking lot. I heard this fall from the park ranger that the town council was considering prohibiting dogs. I was told that the decision was not going to be considered until possibly December. March 17th, there was a sign at the trailhead and again on the trail stating there was a final draft of the Button Rock Preserve Management Plan. A website was given at the bottom of the sign. I took a picture of it and went home to look up the plan. Unable to find the plan on the website, I found it on the City of Longmont website. I made copies of the plan and I handed it out to other dog owners on the trail. None of these people had even heard of the plan. The sign was up for a couple weeks and removed. I continued to visit with dog owners and let them know what was happening. They did not know, and they are upset. Dog waste. Yes, dog waste is toxic to our environment. Yes, we need to be responsible and remove it to the trash. Yes, I am willing and ready to do this for my dog and the ones that are not responsible. In the last few weeks, I have not seen any dog waste on the trail. I believe people are trying to take care of this problem. I promise I will do my part. I will even volunteer my time for this. Wildlife. I am an amateur photographer. I'm always taking pictures of wildlife, and my dog is always with me on his leash, not bothering them any more than I do. We are not a problem to wildlife. Overcrowding. When the parking lot is full, then people will have to try for another day. No overcrowding possible if the parking lot is full. Or charge a fee and cut back on the use. Please, please give us the opportunity to take care of any problem with dog waste. We can do this. Before you vote this plan into use, give us another season to clean this up and maintain the privilege of walking our dogs on this trail. Hiking with our dog is mentally and physically healthy for all involved. Please give us time to show you we can be responsible. Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. You know, before I read this ordinance, it was open to council to have any discussion and then to the public. We don't usually interact with the public, but I was wondering if it would be okay if I ask David Bell to converse with Dawn about all the public hearings and outreach that we have done, because this has been going on for quite a long time. Thank you, David. So our next ordinance is, we have to vote on this one. So is there anyone else that would like to speak? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Can I have a motion to move 2023-17? So it's been moved by Councilor Martins, seconded by Councilor Waters. Let's vote. That passes unanimously. The next ordinance is 2023-20, a bill for an ordinance amending Chapter 10 of the Longmont Municipal Code by adding Section 10.24.120 on camping or lodging on property without consent. Do we have any questions or comments from council? Seeing none, I'll open up to the public. Is there anyone that would like to speak on ordinance 2023-20? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
I move ordinance 2023-20.
So it's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez, seconded by Councilor Yarbrough. Let's vote. And that passes unanimously. Items removed from the consent agenda. Councilor Waters?
Thanks, Mayor Peck. I will admit to probably being the least informed up here about all of the details, the nuances, the language in Vision Zero. I've looked at the website. I've tried to find, we've twice heard in these chambers references to racist language, anti-police dispositions language. I can't believe that the staff, Phil, the city manager, or Zach would bring us a recommendation that would be somehow grounded or connected to defunding the police, opposition to law enforcement, or racist. I think it's time to clear the air and speak directly to the comments that were made and not let those hang in this chamber unaddressed. So who would like to take that on?
I think I'll start and then Phil can jump in. So I've been perusing different areas to try to find out what's the nexus of some of these comments. And I think what's interesting is when I've looked through and really targeted that specific topic, there's actually a mixed bag in terms of what you find and how communities are reacting to this in Vision Zero, because when you look at the E's in this, and enforcement is a significant portion of it, what you actually will find as you search the web and you see this conversation, there's actually a different piece of the conversation saying that there should be you should be less reliant on the enforcement piece because of what people are seeing in terms of disproportionate impacts for policing. That's not part of Vision Zero. I think when they talk about how specific communities are dealing with, I think that's where you're seeing very specific communities looking at it and maybe placing less emphasis on the enforcement, but it's not something that I'm seeing as part of the Vision Zero plan, because in all actuality, our public safety department has to be beside, you know, Phil and Jim and the folks working on this, because that's an important part of this process. And so I haven't seen anything as I've been reviewing it that is getting at the concept of defunding police or removing our public safety department from that conversation. The reality is we're in conversations constantly and they're partnering with each other on different things. So I've looked, I couldn't find it. What I found actually has the other argument in play as I've been evaluating what's online. And I think if it's showing up, it's probably showing up where it's community specific and they're making those decisions. And I take you back to what Jim said, this is a community process. And what we do in our community is not necessarily what other people will be doing in their what they're doing in their community. Bill?
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Phil Greenwald, Transportation Planning Manager. Just wanted to address some of those items as far as really trying to say that this is a community effort, and the idea is that we are working with the members of the community, specifically our public safety folks, to be part of the process, part of the task force that we mentioned earlier, and part of the action plan. It doesn't work without all these people at the table, not just public safety, but all the different people that need to be involved with the communications, the planning, the engineering, and the police are obviously a big part of this as well. So we just want to be sure that this is not something that's an edict that's on the city. This is the city taking part and changing the way that we look at how we look at building the community and looking at the crash data. Again, we're trying to safely move people and not just cars. And I think the emphasis on cars has been in the past, and we're moving forward past that to more of a people-based safety element. And it's really both. One thing that wasn't mentioned too much in our presentation, I apologize for that, was the vulnerable populations of people who are walking, biking, and trying to access transit are really the people who are paying the price when they walk across the streets, when you get hit by a car, 2 to 4,000 pound car, if you're walking or bicycling, those are the people we're looking at as well. And so it is a community effort, and we're gonna make sure that it's tailored specifically to Longmont.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks, John.
And I'll just add, in trying to track all this down, if at any point I felt like it was something like that, I would be the first person to come to the city council
That's what I would
and say,
expect.
we don't need to go down this road because here's what I'm seeing, and I have yet to see anything like that.
So Councilmember Martin has comments. I'll be happy to to offer a motion on this when the time comes.
Okay, great. Counselor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. I'd just like to say that I have had a very rewarding experience in the last couple of years in working with residents here who are very interested in improving the livability of Longmont and promoting multimodal transportation in general, and Vision Zero in specific is one of the issues that they pursue. And along those lines, I try to keep up with them. And I was very happy fairly recently to discover that while Vision Zero did come out of European efforts for urban livability and preventing child murder, as it was called in Amsterdam, I think, that there is now a Vision Zero network in the United States that rephrases a lot of the principles of Vision Zero in terms of how we talk about things and how we do things here in the United States. What it is absolutely not is any kind of a government. It's not anything you sign up to. There are no Vision Zero overlords. It is not any kind of a covenant with any other city. It is a covenant we make with ourselves to try to do better and make our city a safer place for pedestrians and people using alternative forms of mobility other than automobiles. And I'd like to just read a couple of quotes from the Vision Zero US website, which is called visionzeronetwork.org. This is from an article titled Rethinking the Role of Enforcement in Traffic Safety Work. It says, we recognize that radicalized enforcement, including discriminatory traffic stops and inequitable traffic fines and fee system, is too often conducted in the name of state streets, but it doesn't have to be that way. And the article goes on to say that one of the consequences of Vision Zero is to redistribute the responsibilities of law enforcement so that law enforcement, as our own public safety organization tells us often, allows law enforcement to be doing the good work of actually preventing harmful crimes and not chasing people down to give them tickets. Vision Zero reduces the occasion for traffic violations, when it is successfully implemented. So I almost am hearing that the people who've been speaking against it are searching for keywords and not realizing that they're inverting the precepts of Vision Zero in what they're taking from these articles. Because Vision Zero is not a government, nobody's gonna supervise us doing this, and it does not tell the police how to do their work, but when well executed, it makes the work of police simpler and more equitable.
Thank you, Councilor Martin. Councilor Waters, do you want to move this?
Resolution 2023-42. Seconded.
So it's been moved by Councilor Waters, seconded by Councilor McCoy. Let's vote. So that passes unanimously. Thank you. We're now at general business, and this is the Universal Recycling Ordinance. We have staff to make a presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Becky Doyle with Strategic Integration. We're here bringing back some requested specific cost information for certain facilities that will be impacted by a potential universal recycling ordinance as directed by City Council in December. I will continue talking while we're working on this presentation. I also want to take this opportunity to congratulate Brian McGill on his new role as the Utility Rate and Analysis Manager. So as we bring forward additional utility rate and financial planning information, Brian is leading that group. So I wanted to call that to your attention. And now he will present some of that very specific financial information around recycling.
Do I have to? It's already live? Cool. Okay. Okay. Good evening, Mayor Peck, members of council. My name is Brian McGill, Utility Rate and Analysis Manager for Strategic Integration. And as Becky said, I'm here to present a follow-up to the Universal Recycling Ordinance. And then also, we're asking for final direction of how staff should proceed with bringing back the actual ordinance. And so, back in December, Lisa Knobloch presented staff's recommendations for the Universal Recycling Ordinance, and at that meeting, council directed staff to bring back some financial information of financial impacts to our commercial customers, and also financial impacts to the Longmont Housing Authority. Okay, so here's tonight's agenda. So we'll start off just by quickly reviewing the previous direction that we received, and then I'll get into the financial impacts to the Longmont Housing Authority, and then I'll follow that up by talking about the financial impacts to our commercial customers, and then we'll have a conversation about compliance support strategies, as well as the economic assistance resources that will be provided, and then to wrap up, we'll get final council direction. Okay, so here's what we received as direction from council back in December. And so I'm just briefly talk about, it's just kind of a timeline of when the actual service requirements will go into place. And so the recycling requirements would start in January of 2024 for the large commercial and large multifamily complexes. And then in June of 24, the recycling services would go into effect for all other commercial and multifamily properties. And then in 2025, that's when the composting requirements would go into place. Again, that would be phased throughout that year. And then finally in 2029 is when the composting requirements for the landscaping companies would go into place. Okay, so now the Longmont Housing Authority financial impacts. So the good news is 8 out of the 9 LHA properties currently do have the recycling services. And so the combination of the trash and recycling services that are currently provided, the average cost is $3.59 per residential per month. And so therefore, if recycling is the only requirement for multifamily complexes, then there really will be a minimal impact to the Longmont Housing Authority. However, if council does direct staff to include composting for multifamily complexes, then there would be a financial impact to Longmont Housing Authority. And we've estimated that cost to be an annual $15,000 to $30,000 impact. But that would be for all properties. It would vary from property to property, but the total impact could be between $15,000 and $30,000 a year. Okay, so now I'll talk about the research and analysis that we did for the financial impact for the commercial customers in Longmont. So as Lisa talked about in the December presentation, it's really difficult to identify this financial impact because there's so many different variables that go into it. Everything from who the provider is, how big the receptacle size is, how often it's picked up, and then even how far the business is from the hauler and the processing facility. But to begin this process, staff obtained a list of all the licensed businesses within the city of Longmont. And from that list, we selected 3 different categories. And those categories were based on the size of the category, as well as the internal comparisons within inside those categories. And so the 3 categories that were selected were food services, and then general, and the general category includes the retail businesses, And then the final category was business/finance, and that includes things like banks and insurance providers. So then after we identified those three categories, then we had sustainability staff and customer service staff begin to reach out to those customers and try to start to collect information from them. And the information we tried to collect was based on the current services that they're receiving, what were their receptacle sizes, what was their pickup frequency, and then also what their monthly expense was. However, the effort really did not produce very desirable results because not many businesses contacted were able to provide all three components of what we were asking for. There were 63 respondents who knew who their providers were, and of those, over 50% did already have recycling, so I think that was a positive. But the one thing that the process really identified and highlighted for us is the fact that significant educational outreach will be needed to support compliance with the new ordinance. So then, okay, so here's a slide that actually shows there was 9 businesses that we contacted that were able to provide all three elements that we asked for: receptacle size, pickup per month, and monthly expense for the recycling services that they provide, that they currently have. And so the far right column here, we tried to normalize that cost based on the number of pickups and then also, so per pickup and per cubic yard. But as you can see from the chart, even it still varies so much, and it's just because it varies, based upon who the hauler was, the receptacle size, and the pickup frequency. So it's really hard to really pin down a financial impact to any of these businesses. Okay, so then the implementation of the Universal Recycling Ordinance will include resources to assist businesses in complying with the requirements. This slide shows some of the strategies to support compliance that staff will be working on developing. The first resource to be put into place will be the hiring of a sustainability coordinator focused on zero waste implementation. And this person will serve as the primary point of contact for questions and resources regarding the universal recycling. And they will also be developing training and collateral to assist businesses in understanding the requirements and how to meet them. And then even with the educational resources and continuing community outreach, some businesses and housing providers may find it challenging to meet the requirements for various reasons. The program proposes to offer one-time grant funding for the purchase of equipment or site changes to enable the placement and collection of recycling and composting containers. And the program may also include financial assistance for a specified period to support businesses in the transition. And then also external partners such as Boulder County, Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, and Front Range Waste Diversion may also provide grants, technical assistance, and other resources to assist businesses. And then finally, businesses will be able to apply for exemptions based on various barriers such as economic hardship, site conditions, and alternative waste diversion strategies. However, the goal of the program is to help as many businesses as possible to comply with the requirements and meet the council's waste diversion goals. Okay, so that concludes the presentation, and so this is just again a recap of the previous council direction that was given. And so then what we just would like to request from council either to direct us to move forward with that previous discussed provisions, or to provide a revised or additional direction regarding the universal recycling ordinance. So now, comments, questions, and thank you.
Any comments or questions from councilors? Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. I do believe that we should continue to move forward with this. I just would say, though, that based on where we are at right now with composting, to keep an eye on that, especially when we've seen so many of the restaurants, especially during the pandemic and afterwards, switch to more compostable containers and those kinds of things that now we can no longer add in our stream as it is currently. And so that's just one thing I hope that we maintain maybe a little flexibility on as we get closer to, those deadlines of when the organics start to come into play. Thank you.
Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. A letter from a couple of residents actually struck home with me because I have been worrying about this because we do have, disruption in our composting services and a little bit in our recycling services, frankly. The advice that they gave was, let's begin. We have to adapt. We know we're going to have to adapt. Maybe this will provide the impetus for us to be creative in finding solutions that work better. So, my preference is also that we proceed with the understanding that we have work to do in terms of negotiating with our providers, and that those negotiations may in fact cause some wiggles in the timeline, but that should not be construed as failure or a reason to stop.
Councilor Waters.
Thanks, Mayor Peck. Brian, I want to clarify two things. On the table where you made reference to the difficulty of normalizing costs, and I understand the complexities. It's hard to normalize the businesses so you can normalize the costs. Here's my concern. Do you tell me if I should interpret this the way I think I'm interpreting it, is whether it's accurate or not? That we know the costs are gonna go up, we just don't know how much.
Yeah, that is correct. So they'll have that additional recycling cost. Another thing that's hard to tell is then they might be able to go to a smaller trash receptacle, which then would help offset some of that increased cost for recycling.
Will there be a point in your mind ever that we will be able to normalize costs? Or will this council or some council at some point be acting on an ordinance that we know is going to increase cost and can't answer the question how much and for whom?
That's a difficult question, just because it's the haulers they just aren't transparent with their costs. And when we tried to reach out to the actual businesses, a lot of them just didn't even know what they were paying. But maybe through the education, then we could work with them, and maybe then we would be able to get better idea of what is actually costing them with that actual outreach and education.
Yeah, philosophically and conceptually, we need to move in this direction, no question. I'm just sitting thinking, how many times would I say yes to a proposal that's going to increase cost and I don't know how much and for whom? There just aren't very many circumstances. But I understand there's more work that has to be done. I'm just saying, if this is going to come back, well, I'm sitting on the council, this is going to be a question I'm going to come back to, because we need to know this. Here's the kind of corollary, the follow-on to that. Go back to slide 8. Just back up one slide, or 2 slides. Yeah. It's just to understand this slide, that there may be multiple ways to help offset costs. Some of those would be one-time, where a grant would be really useful to offset a one-time cost. Some of the costs, I suspect, are not one-time. They're going to be ongoing. But this slide suggests that as costs go up, whatever criteria gets developed, and I assume there would be a criteria in a process for a business to say we have a hardship, or I guess that would be or a need of financial assistance. There'd be a criteria and a process. But at the end of the day, the rest of the businesses who don't claim that or can't qualify will subsidize those costs. from a business perspective, how's that gonna play? Because the message is gonna be, and I'm not arguing about the value of this. I'm wondering what a business on the other side of this conversation, what a business would say, let me get this straight. You want me to subsidize my competitor's costs? Or I'm gonna, at my expense, subsidize his costs. We're in the same business. He has a hardship and I don't. What's our response gonna be?
Mayor Peck, Councilmember Waters, there are many factors that go into the cost of waste services, and because so many of these services are provided by private haulers, we have little visibility or control into what happens with that. I think we are going to learn a lot more. I mean, obviously, in going through this process of reaching out to 1,500 businesses and getting 9 responses that were complete, we understand the limitations of the engagement with this service in particular. I think we will get to a point where costs are better known, where commodity prices, shift and allow for some more normalization. I would say, depending on what choices the council makes regarding potentially charging a commercial waste management fee, there may or may not be direct subsidy from commercial users to other commercial users for that grant program.
Where would the subsidy come from?
Otherwise, it would come from other users and other revenues that come into the sanitation fund.
So somebody's subsidizing my competitor, right?
Well, but it may be residential users, and that would be.
I'm not certain that that's
I
gonna
don't
sell
know
real
that that's
well.
better, but those are the revenues in the sanitation fund. I mean, there are other revenues in the sanitation fund as well that come from polycart revenues, special trash collections, and things like that, as well as grant opportunities that are coming through the state.
So one more question, I'll be quiet. Understand, and I'm going to be supportive of moving this forward. I just can anticipate what the conversations are going to be like, what we're going to read, both in the newspaper and in emails when the time comes. There have been a couple times when we've looked at in the early stages of these conversations, and I know you've been working on it for a while, where we looked at I know there are legal constraints on what we can or can't do to compete with private sectors, with the private sector. So I am curious, is there anything that can be done legally that would put us in that position if we want to? And then long-term, what are the economics of us doing here, just like we do for residents, right, that we become our own service provider if we address whatever the legal issues are? And I'm not even certain how to address the legal issues.
Mayor Peck, Councilmember Waters, I may have to engage Bob to answer part of that question.
I do that all the time. I call Bob Ellett all the time to answer questions.
Correct. But I will say that I think we do have the flexibility to require additional transparency, and to make requirements of haulers that we license within the city. And I don't know.
He's coming up on your right.
Okay, great. I was just saying, maybe Bob has something to add to that.
What question am I answering?
What are if the city of Longmont decided we wanted to address whatever the legal constraints are for competing with commercial haulers, right? Because some municipalities do that, right?
Not that I'm aware of, not for commercial.
So there's no legal
business.
way in Colorado.
Not without the state doing it at the political level.
So it'd have to be a state statute that allow us?
Yes.
Oh, I thought there was something that within our charter or some local option we had that would put us in that game.
No, and the bigger barrier is probably the economic one anyway.
Well, that would be the second question.
Yeah.
And what are the long-term economics? I know there's a big cost up front, but what does that look like over time?
Well, I mean, we're really good at curbside programs because we can plug and chug out there. Commercial's a lot different than that. Every collection is much more expensive. So without a lot of equipment, without a lot of customers, you can spread your equipment and your services across, the more you have to charge. So the large private companies can serve major regional areas and
just not a large enough business.
It's economy of scales, yeah.
For waste management or Western whatever waste management, whatever the commercial carriers are, because they get spread that across multiple municipalities or states or regions or whatever. That's the economics of it.
Yes.
All right, thanks.
And I apologize, Mayor, I'm Bob Allen, Director of Water and Waste Services. I didn't do that.
This is the Bob Allen.
And if I may also comment on I think the question on subsidization. We have to remember that that's, I thought your point was valid. Maybe a bit of a straw man argument, however. More successful businesses do that in many different ways, like they pay more taxes, they have, subsidized roads and sidewalks to a greater extent. So you're gonna have that too in this case. But I think that we would really want to watch out for, as you stated, the competitor versus the direct competitor types of subsidizations.
I'm just, I can anticipate what
It's a
that
fair-
conversation will
yeah.
be like when the time comes. Thanks.
Seeing no one else on this, so far I've heard that Councilor Waters, Councilor Martin, and Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez are on board with staying the course with what we're doing. Can I have to Councilor McCoy?
Thank you, Mary Peck. Well, I'm in support of this, and I seem to remember something from our trip to National League of Cities where the agricultural secretary was talking to the whole group of delegates there, talking about how many grants they had, and it seems like maybe it seemed like he was saying that they had a grant for this type of thing. He had just a list that was as long as your arm about grants for especially this idea of composting and that sort of thing. So it might be something to look into. And I am in support of it as well. But I hear exactly where Councilor Waters is coming from. We really have to not defer the cost off to other entities in the system.
Councilor Yarbrough, you got a thumbs up. Councilor Hidalgo Faring, a thumbs up. Okay, you have your direction to stay the course. Keep working on this. Thank you very much. The next one is our big discussion for the evening. It is the Library, Recreation, and Culture Fund discussion. So, staff presentation?
That'll be me.
Okay.
Just letting Dallas pull it up. So, as we start this, one of the things is, as I was listening to all of this, obviously, we're getting to the point where we're heading to council decision points on all of these items. And as I was looking through this, I definitely feel the position that you all are in, because this is not unlike what we go through when we're creating the budget and we're trying to take all of this information in, figure out what we have in terms of revenue and how we move through it. And so I wanted to start off by saying this is, a version of what we go through as we're trying to prepare the budget to bring to you all. And there's a lot of different choices that you have to make. One of the things I wanted to talk about is, so how did we get here? If you all will remember, during the last budget process, there were a lot of folks coming forward to council saying, we would like to see this, we would like to see this. And obviously, from a budget perspective, we're limited on the amount of funds that we have coming in. So what we as staff indicated to you all, that if we're going to move down this road, it really needs to be a tax increase to fund these projects, both from a capital standpoint and an operational standpoint, because the incremental approach that we have been looking at just wasn't going to get these big projects done. Also, when you consider a lot of work that we had to engage in the last 5 to 6 years on the rehab side, where we had to use a lot of our public improvement fund for bond initiatives just to stabilize our buildings, that took up a lot of capacity in terms of limiting what we could do. So we brought this forward to you all in terms of the Library, Recreation, and Culture Fund. I'm sorry, I need to get a couple of things. So one of the things that you all asked in the last presentation, and I wanted to put this on the screen because I think it ties to what I just talked about, is when we were looking at what are we doing in terms of parks and what are the projects that we have in play. Obviously, we talked about, the best value approach 8 and 5 years. If you look at this slide, the purple is basically the projects that are included on that list. The green are active park projects that we have going on in the community. And then the yellow is what's included in the tax initiative. So that's just a baseline in terms of what we actually have going on from a project standpoint. In addition to this, you will find many of the same staff members. As I indicated in our council retreat, as we were recovering from the flood, we adjusted the capital improvement plan dramatically in terms of where we were putting funds to maximize the federal dollars, and we still have some folks working on those projects as well as we're moving through. So I'm not going to go into a lot of depth in this. You all will remember a lot of the things that we talked about in terms of the proposed projects. And you can see many of the things that was brought up tonight earlier on this slide. And then when we look at the proposed projects, renovation and remodel, you can see the Quell campus and Centennial Pool. And then you see some park projects on the list. Now, one of the things that we indicated in our council communication is really looking at projects that are ready to move forward and supported beyond 50%. And you see the library, the new recreation and recreation center rehab, Dry Creek Park, arts and entertainment. We are working on some current cost estimates on that based on when the study was originally completed. But in reality, we're going to need to look at updated cost estimates on all of these projects right now, because what we're continuing to see is continued inflationary pressures on bids that are coming into us, and so we're going to have to refine those anyway. We had some projects with some changed conditions. Obviously, the museum funding was discussed. You all acted on a resolution earlier about a capital campaign. We know that the Stewart Foundation has put money into this project, and that information is detailed in the council comm. Union Reservoir, a couple of issues started developing with this. One, to Councilmember McCoy's comment about there are a lot of grants out there. What we are starting to see is there are a lot of grants that are really out there. You know, we've always talked about the expansion of Union Reservoir as something that was in our pocket from a water supply perspective. But what we're starting to see is there's a lot of federal dollars out there in terms of maybe we could apply and get that from the expansion standpoint. But one of the things that actually came up during our capital improvement, so we're already starting our budgeting process. One of the things that came out of the discussions in our capital improvement plan that we weren't aware of is that when we look at the recreation expansion of Union Reservoir, that's actually going to require relocating a road. And so that places additional financial requirements on the street fund that would be responsible for that. And as we talked about earlier, when we talk about Vision Zero and some of those things, we're going to have a lot of competition within our transportation fund anyway when we take into account First and Main, what we're doing from a Vision Zero perspective and how we're going to approach our streets in general. And so we really feel as staff that there's enough change condition there that we may want to step back a little bit and understand what are the funding opportunities that exist outside of our normal look, but also knowing that we really can't bring street funds in to move a road, which then the other way to do it is you're going to have to increase the cost of the Union Reservoir project. Obviously, when we looked at the survey results, Montgomery Farm Park didn't have a lot of support, and so we feel like that's probably one that is not ripe. And then literally Thursday afternoon, last week, something developed on Centennial Pool that is a significant change condition. And as we were trying to write the council comm was finished, as we were trying to get the agenda out, we had to stop and rewrite the section to say we would present this option to you tonight. Based on what we heard, we had to bring this to your attention because it's a really unique and interesting opportunity. So what is this opportunity? Well, let me back up. So what did we hear on Centennial Park? What we heard in the survey, and you can see this, is people didn't want to eliminate the pool in exchange for a court. We heard issues about investment in the north side of our community, technically not in the north, but on the fringe. And then we were hearing don't abandon some of our traditionally underserved areas in our community. And I think when you looked at the notes from the Parks and Rec Advisory Board when they said we need to relook at this. I think we were all hearing that. I know council was mentioning that. And so we had to really re-anchor on this. So what happened Thursday? So the YMC approached the city with an opportunity for a partnership. One of the things that the Y has been doing in the Midwest for some time, as we've learned through this, is they have been working on unique ways to develop and expand their Y facilities. They are currently working to implement this model in Colorado Springs. I think they're having a conversation in Laramie as well. And so what they're looking at on the base of this issue is really potentially exchanging land. So where Centennial is currently located, exchanging the land that they own on Mountain View and 9th and Lashley? 9th and Lashley, in exchange for the property that we have where Centennial Pool is located. They're looking at essentially a public-private partnership on this with an estimated cost to the city between $10 to $12 million. If you remembered in the spreadsheet, we had $7 million plugged in, utilizing the operational costs from Centennial Pool to cover most of that on the operating side. So what did they present to us? It's a really intriguing option and unique. So what the Y wants to do is actually, on the image on the right, they want to expand their facility and include expanded daycare. So they are one of our significant daycare providers in our community, and they wanted to provide expanded daycare. They wanted to create a 25 millimeter pool. They want to create a sheet of ice for hockey, obviously court space, and then the gym space that they have in play for this. They also discussed putting in a library quick stop. Here's another part of the change condition. The model that we talked about in terms of how they finance these projects is actually also predicated in including affordable housing into this development. And so the companies that the Y partners with have found a way to actually use the tax credit process for affordable housing to help offset some of the expenses that are associated with the main building, which changes the economics on that quite a bit. So this right here is actually what you would look at in terms of the affordable housing that would be included on the site. What I would say is this is a beginning schematic. As you all have known, as we've talked about the development on the Hover property and your role as the Affordable Housing Authority, these things change as you're moving in. But what they're looking at is creating 100 affordable housing units associated with this product. What that also allows us to potentially do is if we get the land in exchange for this and the property that exists on 9th and Lashley, that actually would give us potentially the ability to use that in the development of attainable housing. So if you're anchoring affordable housing over here, then you could look at creating attainable for-sale housing at this other location, which is, you know, a significantly, this is the change condition and why we wanted to bring this to you all, because this is something that we haven't seen. There is some immediate work that we're going to need to do on this. We need to understand the deed, parkland restrictions on this Centennial site. There may be the need to incorporate a vote to transfer the land if council chooses to do this. As I mentioned before, we're going to have to adjust the financial analysis on this one because how we look at it's going to be, it can change and it can vary. For example, if council chooses to do this, there's not going to be an operating cost associated with this site anymore. So the operating funds that we would have at the existing site, we could move to some of the other recreation projects, and that would reduce the ongoing, potentially reduce the ongoing costs there, but we have to go through that detail. One of the things that was pretty important in the offset of this conversation is that there has to be some type of agreement in terms of how we approach memberships in terms of people that have memberships at the city recreation centers, being able to utilize this, because obviously if we're investing city funds into this, it can't be solely a Y revenue generation piece. And everybody seemed to indicate that we can work through this. But again, something, if council wants to move forward with this, that we're gonna have to button up pretty quick. And then at the bottom, you could see that, you know, the potential on the other side of the land is utilizing that for attainable housing. So when we take everything that we saw on the previous slide, and when we look at the potential in this project, why I felt we absolutely had to do this to you, when I compare this to what you said in your goal setting session, is you now touch attainable housing, you touch early childhood, you touch affordable housing, and it's a different way to then address many of the issues that we're seeing in the survey results. And so we don't like doing it this way, but it was just moving so fast that we had to prepare and build this, and I had to have some time to think through it before tonight. So this is the change condition. This is the different look at the Centennial Pool site. It is more than we plugged in originally. Originally $7 million. As I said, this is a $10 to $12 million range. Joni, did I miss anything? So I have all the other slides that we went through before, but I think in terms of council decisions and what we put into the council communication, and this is, I think, where we need to have this conversation is, you know, council can do nothing. We were hearing in the survey about the economic uncertainty. You can take this do nothing yet, meaning you can engage your boards and commissions at a different level to really create that community campaign and then make a decision. You can look at this information for the 2024 election. Obviously, when they presented the results, they said it was going to be different based on the voter turnout. And then, you know, for council, are there specific projects you want to remove from the list? Are there projects you want to move forward? Do you want to phase votes and bringing it to election over different election cycles? And I think as you're moving through those conversations, it's probably going to, I anticipate that it'll be a little bit of everything. But there may be points where you say, on this one, we don't want to do anything yet, but we want staff to work on this pretty quick and bring it back to us. We have the other slides if you want to have some of that information, or we can just start moving through the conversation.
Can I ask a question? Going back to the land swap, basically, with YMCA, is this kind of a morphed conversation from the one we had with them last year when they approached?
Yeah, this one's
or is
a
it
lot different.
Okay, but it's the same group?
It's the same. It's a local YMCA.
Okay, so my question is, if we then swap and get the YMCA belongs to us with the swimming pool and the daycare, et cetera, why would not the staff that operates Centennial Pool just operate what's going to happen at the YMCA? I can see there might be maybe one or two different staff members, but would we have to add any additional?
Well, I think there's a duplication of services, and especially facilities that close to each other. I'm not sure that either one could support themselves on an ongoing basis doing that, because there will be a pretty direct duplication of services in that scenario.
Okay, it's too early really to know that information probably. So we had a petition and an ask by the arts. I think we should have that conversation first about putting that on the ballot, and what does that mean as far as finance? And can you explain that from the staff's position? If we just put the cultural center on the ballot, irregardless of the survey, as they have asked. I don't think it's irregardless of the survey, but for me, that's my thinking, is because if I understand it correctly, we would not be putting dollars into that center until they came to us with their 34 million, was that what it was? 35? What's a
Correct.
million?
So the way I understand it is council would put an item on the agenda for this facility, and we would have to work the language into the ballot itself that says the tax will not commence until $35 million is raised. And I would suggest, once that, it has to be raised and in an escrow account at that point, because a lot of times when you do the fundraising campaigns, Jamie says, I may commit $2 million. Well, there comes a point in time where Jamie has to transfer that $2 million over, so it will have to be committed and funded in an escrow account, I would say, before the tax would begin, based on how it was described.
And is there a sunset as to how long we would wait for that to happen, or would it be
I believe it was 5 years.
just 5 years? Okay. Thanks for that explanation. I just wanted it reiterated for the recording. So I'm just going to open this up. We have a list of different items that we are considering to put on the ballot. If we want the arts and recreation, not arts and recreation, cultural center put on an agenda, it would have, on a ballot, it would have to go to an agenda first. To another council meeting on an agenda to move forward, is that correct?
Correct. We would
Okay.
have to bring the relevant ordinances associated with it to place it on the ballot.
Okay. So, and then we have these other things. Let's just start one by one. Councilor McCoy has he's up. Let us know what you think.
Well, I think that that's the group that seems to be most organized at this point, and I think they're consistently organized. I think they'd have a time limit. I think some of the things that you look at in regards to good business practice in regards to, you have a dedicated group of people, you have a time, a dollar amount that they're looking at, you have a time limit, and you have a general conception idea. I think that's a very positive thing, and so I think we should go ahead and look at moving that forward in the time frame and in the structure that Harold's talking about, and I think that would be a good thing.
Okay. Councilor Yarbrough, I'm just going to go one by one and get what everyone would like to. Oh, I don't see her though. Councilor Hidalgo Faring, do you want to weigh in on this performing arts complex? Did you get the email that they sent out about having the petition and putting this on the ballot? Okay. So we are discussing. If you're not ready, I can come back to you.
No, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So are we specifically, because it gets a little hard to hear. We are specifically talking about the Cultural Arts Center, or are we talking about each item?
I think we're gonna right now talking about the cultural arts, the performing arts complex.
The Performing Arts Complex. I am in support of adding that to the ballot.
Okay.
I think that, just the agreement that they would contribute a portion along with what the city would do, and we won't be providing any money until that, the 35 million is attained. I think that's a very fair, deal, and I would like to add that. I am in support of that.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilor Yarbrough? Oh, I guess you're waiting for me.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with the previous comments that I like the idea of them, raising the money prior. And I also like the idea of the money going into an escrow account before we implement taxing. So they have put forth much effort into raising, getting the funds, it sounds like. And so I too believe in, that this complex is definitely wonderful for the future, for our youth and everything. But of course, we are also thinking about our community and how much that would be extra, raising more money and adding more money from households and that may not, afford it. So, but I do believe, I agree with putting it on on the agenda, moving forward with it.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Peck. I'll be very quick about this, and I'm going to probably go a little bit beyond just the one thing, in the sense that traditionally the city's kind of run 3 ballot measures. That seems to be a kind of traditional number that tends to go on ballots, not just our city, but other cities as well, I've noticed. So I would go with arts and entertainment proposal, move forward as a ballot. I'd also go with the library branch, and then also the rec rehab as well as additional rec center. Those would be my 3 that I'd put forward this year.
Councilor Martin?
Thank you, Mayor Peck. I agree with the Mayor Pro Tem almost. So I think that, 3 ballot measures, arts and entertainment, again, because it is, first of all, something that Longmont doesn't have anything at all in that arena. Second, because it's a really great deal, with the money coming, the large investment from the private sector, and the fact that the tax is deferred for some number of years when we expect that economic conditions will have stabilized before the public will see a property tax increase. So that's 3 things to the advantage of this proposal. So I definitely agree with moving it forward. I believe that we have been stinting the library for too long. So again, the library should go on the ballot, but I think we've got a lot more work to do to figure out the mix of recreation, because we've got so many aspects to consider there. So we don't have to decide to to proceed yet. We can do some more analysis. So the thing that I would like to commit to would be the Y proposal, because it's a relatively small investment in terms of tax and bond issue. It also has the advantage of being deferred, right? It's not, if that gets a yes vote, it's not gonna, the tax doesn't start next January. The tax starts when all of the rest of the funding stack is put together. So that's more similar to the Center for Arts and Entertainment in terms of the financing model. And that means that, if we commit to proceeding with those 3 and then look at the rest of the sports complex analysis, knowing that we have this advantage with the deal with the Y, and kind of replan our recreation needs around that, then we can consider the other stuff at the later time. But let's proceed with those 3.
I'm sorry, what were the 3? You said the art complex, the library,
and Y.
Oh, and the Y. Councilor Waters.
I'm just going to echo some of what we've heard. So the Arts and Entertainment team, Alliance, ought to feel pretty good about the fact that there's unanimity on this council to put this on the ballot. But I want to make the observation, I think we're talking about 2 campaigns here for this group. One this fall to support community voting for a commitment of $45 million to match the $35 million that would be escrowed. The second campaign is going to occur once that is in escrow, And once we start selling bonds, because I don't think you'd go to the ballot for the mill levy or for the sales tax to cover operating costs until then. I can't imagine we would be charging a sales tax starting in January for a facility that wouldn't be constructed for a decade or wouldn't be finished for a decade. Is that fair?
I think if you put it on there, you would hold all of it, both sales and.
You would hold the sales tax.
You wouldn't implement it until they reach the 35 million mark.
If you can word a ballot question
I'll
that
have
way.
to get with Jim and Eugene on that one.
If you can do it that way, that'd be fine, because that would sure be simpler, but there's a relationship between those two, number one. Number two, we've heard from the museum, that they're gonna do their own capital campaign. I think it would be too early to put a question on the ballot this fall for a mill levy to support operating costs, but I would at some point move, if we don't do it tonight, to direct staff to bring us back a resolution. There won't be this council. It'll be a council at some point in the future that would have to be deciding, once $30 million is raised and the museum's expanded, to go to the ballot with a dedicated a sales tax dedicated to the cost, to serving the cost of the increased cost of an expanded museum.
So that's not excuse me for interrupting, but let me make this clear so I understand it.
Yeah.
You're saying that it would be two issues for the museum.
No. I'm saying that they've already committed to a capital campaign. I'm saying I wouldn't put a question on the fall ballot.
Okay, thank you.
To increase sales tax to support an expanded museum until the money was raised to expand the museum, and that is gonna be a construction process. But what we could do, and I think we should do responsibly, is direct staff to bring us a resolution that we could communicate to a council at some point. We made this decision, encouraging that council at the right time to put a dedicated sales tax on a ballot, right? Whenever that occurs. Number three, I think we ought to move forward with the library, both mill levy and sales tax. I think we ought to, I know you're gonna do cost estimates, but the sales tax would be to fund the library operationally at the preferred level, right? And the last of that would be to direct staff to do whatever they have to. I wouldn't stop short. First of all, I love the idea that, I happened to be I met with Chris Coker yesterday, who's the director of the WISE in Northern Colorado. And I was there to talk with him about our Early Childhood Initiative because of the WISE role in childcare. And so I got a little bit of a preview of this. I don't know if I should have or not, but it was very exciting to see what the possibilities are. But it does add a level of complexity to the rec package. And for me, I'm going to support putting a rec package on the ballot this fall. What we tease out, dropping Montgomery Farms off. I thought the first night we talked about this, it wasn't going to make sense for Montgomery Farms to be on the list. I think we have an obligation to build a rec center in southwest part of town. I'm not certain what we're going to do with. I think probably you're saying that leave Dry Creek Park off of that list because of the 8 and 5 and the other Parks and Rec issues. But you could correct that, Harold. But whatever that combination is, including what the Y has brung us, to give the staff additional time to bring a package back for council consideration with sufficient time to vote to put that package on the ballot in November of 2023. Is that clear?
Yes. So what I hear from you is.
Oh, I'm wondering if it's clear to my fellow council members.
It was a lot. So, Harold, can you unwrap that
I'm just
all for
following
us?
the Mayor Pro Tem's lead. He went beyond.
Yeah,
he
you went beyond him.
Yeah.
So, can you unwrap that a little bit?
What I heard was Performing Arts Center, library.
Arts and Entertainment Center.
Or your Arts and Entertainment Center.
Language is going to be really important here.
Arts and Entertainment Center, library. There was a bit of a nuance in the sales tax at the preferred level that we'll have to work the numbers on that. And then what Councilmember Waters was saying, wants to put a recreation item on there, but wants us to work on looking at the broader recreation components as it's associated with this new opportunity that came up with the Y, which means we're gonna have to do some analysis on that. That's what I thought.
There's
you
a
said.
pile of work here.
Yeah.
I understand. Cost estimates and, you know, in combinations of things. I'm just saying, we ought to be able to clear the decks to this degree, to say we're moving forward with these, right? Now do whatever analysis you need to do to bring back your ballot questions and give us a chance to vote on those. And I know we're gonna have conversations at the time about how many questions to put on the ballot and what item competes against another, and I would say put them on the ballot and let the community know, go out and compete hard. Do your jobs to convince this public to support these amenities. We will have done everything we can do. Now it's up to the rest of the community to lean into this and pick up the challenge and get the job done. That's what we failed to do in November of 2019. And clear as much as we can so you can really focus on the rec package, given what's come with the Y offer. The most confusing and conflicted part, I think, of the data that we saw when we looked at the polling data was around Clark Centennial Pool, right? In the things you mentioned, Harold. What about an underserved population in the swimming community and all those concerns? You get a chance to address all those, but doing it with a real clear message. And I'm looking at our Parks and Rec advisory group over here. They understand what this challenge is going to be. Scott is already organized. He's got, I think the last number I heard this morning was 150 people on his campaign team. I don't know, is that true, Scott? Close. But they're up for it. They're ready to take on this challenge, just like our arts community has taken it up. What we need to do is make it as clear as we can so they have a message and a package they can go out and sell to our recreation community, and for us not to be picking winners and losers here. Let the community do that.
If I may ask, I lost my sheet where I was keeping track of it. Mayor Pro Tem, what did you say? You said arts and...
Am I done?
Well, I want to try to figure this out now because I'm getting lost in all of this. If I can go back and... Mayor Pro Tem, what was your list?
I said arts and entertainment, the library branch, and then the rehab and new rec facility paired together as one. So those would be my three.
And then, Councilmember Martin, you said...
I said arts and entertainment, library branch, and Y deal, because that needs to start early and often, and and we can figure out the rec center piece later, but let's get started on the Y deal is too good to pass up, and we have unanimity, I believe, on the first two.
Counselor Hidalgo Faring. I see your hand up.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I thought I was just answering one thing at a time.
I thought so,
But it kind of changed course. So, I did want to input the rest of my
Yes, go ahead.
preferences as well. Thank you. So yes, I am in support of the arts and entertainment, adding that to the ballot. The library branch and the sales tax for helping us to attain that preferred level of service. So as well as the I'm really excited to hear about the Y collaboration and the potential that could arise and the benefits to our city, especially in an underserved part of town that really needs that support. So I am in great support of this. Let us know what we could do on our end to support and move this along as well. We do owe it to our community a second rec center. So absolutely, I want to see that on the ballot, and a commitment to support the museum's capital campaign. I know that is separate and apart, but I do agree with Councilmember Waters in putting together a resolution to make that commitment to support ongoing costs after that capital campaign has been money has been collected for the expansion. I think I hit everything.
You hit everything?
Okay, I think.
Okay. So I'm going to weigh in. Yes, I support the arts complex, excuse me, and the library, but I'm wondering about the why. Does this have to be in this package deal? Because I look at this as a housing project, more so than something that is, than a pool or anything to do with Centennial Pool. Can we look at it that way, as a partnership housing project that has nothing to do with this package deal of cultural events, or not cultural events, but different amenities on this survey?
I think the cost that they indicated to us of bringing in $10 to $12 million is really inherently connected to the recreation, or the recreation amenities and the early childhood versus the housing. I think the housing actually, in that tax credit process, actually supports it and helps draw down some of the capital cost. And what they did indicated is, I think that as they're working with other entities, they're looking for yay or nay, because part of the challenge, when the complexity of that's significant when you're bringing in tax credit processes. So as I was talking to Joni earlier, if you put it on the ballot in November and it passed, well, then what you're really going into is a 20, depending on what tax credit they're going for, 9%, 4% non-competitive, or 4% state. The 4% are in August, the 9% earlier. So you almost need that, what they're saying is they need that lead time to get into that tax credit process, because it's also not common, or it's not uncommon to take 2 runs at a tax credit process. So if it went in and you put it on the ballot and the community supported it, you would go into the tax credit process in 2024. May or may not get funded, because that goes through DOLA and CHAFA. You know, sometimes it takes 2 runs. That's what it took for us on Element Sunset Heights. So then you would do it at 2026. But I think the dollars are really more directly connected to the recreation amenities, which is why you would have to figure out how you build a project where there's a pass sharing component.
And then I think, because this is part of the amenities that we are putting out to the public as to what they want, that needs to be stated, that this would be just for this component of this development. Otherwise, it gets kind of convoluted in the discussion. Anyway, that's the way I view it. Councilor McCoy and Yarbrough, how do you feel about the Y project being part of this? Oh.
I'm happy to respond for him.
Say that?
Councilor McCoy.
Oh, thank you. All right. Thank you, Mayor Peck. Well, of course, I kind of like what Councilor Martin was talking about, and putting him in that perspective, the Performing Arts Center, the library, and then the YMCA with some aspect of the rec component attached to it, but with the, making sure that we get the YMCA thing going, because we have that whole park there already developed, and we haven't broke ground on anywhere else. So I want to make sure that we don't have a big kind of hole in the ground there called Centennial Pool. So that's my concern. So I think that's priority, and then attaching whatever rec components we can weave into this. But I'm seeing that number one is the Performing Arts Center.
Councilor Waters.
You want
Well, now she's gone.
Thanks, Mayor Peck. Thanks, Councilor Yarbrough. It just seems to me that the Y, what the Y is doing is offering us the solution in a twofer, right? The most conflicted part, as I recall, of the polling data was around Clark Centennial Pool, right? People, the respondents, first of all, there was a lot of confusion with the questions. Right. And for those who thought they understood the questions, told us, don't deny us that amenity, right? Fix the pool. Give us something comparable to what we have. what the Y proposal does is help us say yes to that question or that concern. It's complicated, but the bonus, the twofer, is the housing project. And I would say, if we would expect that team over there to get started organizing a bunch of champions in this community to support a recreation package, if they have nothing to offer Southwest Longmont or other members of our recreation community, they have nothing to offer. This community isn't going to support a question or a project that just serves one part of the community with a recreation, in my opinion, with a recreation amenity if folks across the community don't see something in it for them as well. So to pick that one out and deal with that one and say we're going to ignore the rest of the recreation package, I think would be a terrible mistake politically. And I think it denies the community, regardless of what the economics are, people across the community are worthy and deserving of more recreation amenities. We ought not to deny what we have in the north part of town, or as you said, north central, Harold. But that doesn't mean that we don't have parts of town that are long overdue, including the deferred maintenance on the existing recreation center. So for me, the package would include that. It would include a rec center. Come back with whatever you think we ought to be doing with Dry Creek Park, yes or no, if it's in that mix, and how much we could do at Union, because that clearly was not in terms of the expansion. What I heard you say is there's going to be potentially grant funding for the expansion. We might want to come back and look at the amenity part of that, which then there were the two parts in terms of the Union Reservoir question. But give staff a chance to figure some of that out and bring a package back that sells to the community. What the Y brought is a solution with a bonus in terms of what we're doing at Clark Centennial Park.
If I can answer a question, I think what we were saying on Union is if there's a viable option potentially for the expansion from a water resource standpoint, there all of a sudden becomes so much overlap between that project and the recreation project that it really makes sense to maybe hold and try to figure that out, because economies of scale and things like start coming into play, and then obviously the impact to the street fund and how that would raise the cost. That's what we're saying. That changed enough that we probably need to dig into that, and that's going to take a lot more time.
Councilor Hidalgo Ferring. My God. Oh. Councilor Yarrow. I have Susie's face right here on my screen staring at me. So,
Thank
Councilor
you, Mayor
Yarrow.
Peck. So I would definitely go with the library. That is a must. That is a must for me. And also thinking about, our community was already looking forward to the parks and the rec. We already had talked about that. And we know now we have this Y opportunity. That's the next thing shining and, glistening. And I appreciate that as well. I just feel like, I guess one question I have, what happens if we put it on the ballot and it doesn't pass?
It meaning
The YM,
Then it's done. We can't move forward with it.
Okay. So for me, as I was thinking about that, if it doesn't pass and we put a lot of effort and consideration into this, and then defer working on the recs and the rehab of the recs, I also feel that we owe that to the community who is waiting on us to rehab the rec center and have another rec center as well. So for me, it would definitely be, as I mentioned earlier, the arts and the art center and the library. And I do feel like we should move forward with rehabbing the rec center and the rec, because in our packet it was like as a package, those two. Excuse me. And also, I would love for us to have the opportunity to have that, because as you know, Councilor Hidalgo Ferrin and myself wanted to have the dome over there because of the underserved population over there, that we wanted to engage. So I know she and myself are definitely all for the why, that collaboration or exchanging those properties. But right now, because it's so great and it sounds amazing, I think we just need to make sure we have enough information moving forward. And I want staff to, do that investigation and find out all of that. But I guess my main concern is if it doesn't pass on the ballot, because our community is looking forward to the other things that they wrote on in the, the survey. That's what they're looking forward to. And so, so that's where I stand with it. Did I make sense, or am I just rambling? Both? Okay.
I think what I heard you say is arts and entertainment, library, and then the new rec center and the renovations, and then research and bring that information back to you all in terms of the why and how it can all fit together, which I think is what everyone's saying in some version of that.
I think so. I want to make clear, I look at this as how are the residents going to read this on the ballot? And that's why I brought up the why, that it has to be the Centennial Pool, how we're going to address the Centennial Pool with a partnership with the Y. And I think that's what I was getting at. So I also think that we need to rehab the rec center.
Okay.
My question, when you bring this back, I'm concerned about the amount of tax, both property tax and what was the other one that you said would be involved in this?
Sales tax for the ongoing.
Yep, sales tax for ongoing. We need to have those amounts before the ballot language.
So absolutely. As I stated earlier, I think something that we have to do based on where we're seeing the inflationary pressures today on everything, we're going to need to recost some things, bring you up-to-date numbers, and then we will have that broken out. I think what you've done is you've narrowed it down to here are the main three components, and then rec, we're going to have to bring you information, but we will bring that back to you all with here's what the property tax increase would be, here's what the sales tax increase would be, and you all may go, wow, and go through another run of this, but I think you've narrowed it down into what we're going to bring back to you.
Right, because to Councilor Yarbrough's point, what if that doesn't pass because of the amount of taxes that we're putting a burden on the residents? Yeah. Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. This is a funny question coming from me because I live across the street from the existing rec center, but it doesn't look like there's anything wrong with it to me. What is we've never said, what does rehabbing the rec center involve?
I think Jeff's back there and he can come in there. I will tell you, prior to, and I asked this question the other day, prior to the pandemic, there were definitely capacity issues there. What I will tell you is we're getting back to that point now.
So then it's not a rehab, it's an expansion.
And then there's other issues that are associated, I think.
Yeah, Mayor, members of council, Jeff Friesner, Director of Recreation and Culture. So some of the issues that we would like to address is expansion of the fitness area, the workout area. From the very beginning, it's been too small. One of the things we did before we went to an election back in 1999 was that a number of the private clubs had said that they would not come out against the rec center if we made the workout area smaller. So we chose to do that, and we've been dealing with that ever since. We need to do remodeling of the men's and women's locker room. We need to do something with, in particular, with the gang showers. Gang showers are not really a part of our world anymore. We need to be able to provide people individual showers so that as we get into non-binary uses that we can serve everyone. We also feel like we need to update some of the features in the swimming pool. The slides are original, they're 21 years old. The smaller slide we'd like to make that more of a fun slide for younger people. And then the other thing is addressing some of the groundwater issues that we have at the site. So that's kind of a quick summary of that.
Thank you.
And I appreciate that because we don't want to forget about keeping that pool up to standards, or we'll have another Centennial Pool issue down the line. So we need to continually maintain it. Okay, do you have your direction?
I think so. Let me
Do
go
you
over it
want to
one more
tell us
time.
what it is?
Let me go over it one more time. Arts and entertainment, library with the preferred level of service on ongoing, recreation center, the new recreation center in Southwest Longmont, and the primarily rehab, some expansion on the Quail Rec Center, and then work the details out on the Y opportunity as part of the package, and then bring all of that back to you with updated cost estimates and the tax impact on it.
That sounds great.
Okay.
Thank you. Oh, Counselor Waters.
Very quickly, am I the only one? No, I heard Council Member Hidalgo Faring also express an interest in a resolution that we would adopt, encouraging a future council when the museum successfully completed their campaign and their building, or expanding the museum for that council to approve a ballot measure to go to the ballot to increase the sales tax to cover the cost of expansion, or cost of staffing an expanded museum.
Can we put these on two different things because the resolution?
I'm just saying, whatever, at
Yeah.
some point in time, I just feel we have an obligation. They've taken this on. We won't be the ones, or maybe some of these council members, but that's a number of years out. And I just think we ought to send a real clear signal what our intentions were at some point. Didn't have to be part of this package. I just
Okay,
didn't want to
maybe
get lost.
at the next council meeting, we
Whatever.
can make
Yeah.
a motion to do that with I don't know, time specific or.
Yeah, thank you.
That's fine.
Yep, sounds great. Okay, thank you, everybody. This was kind of a fun discussion. Yeah, I don't know about everybody else out there, but I enjoyed it.
I got lost a couple of times. Sorry for having to backtrack and go, what did you say?
It's great. So we have a couple more things on the agenda. The next one actually is Counselor Waters brought to us a resolution of the Longmont City Council endorsing improved Medicare for all as the state or national health system. Do you want to say anything about this, Counselor Waters?
Just very briefly, we've had, I made some comments at the last meeting, and this is not a new issue. This is not really there's a slightly revised resolution from what the council approved in the fall of 2019. The resolution specifically addresses or calls for state and federal legislators to consider creating a single-payer system. Medicare for all would be an example. If there's a better, way to think about it or label it. But I think since the legislature has approved House Bill 1209, this is a logical follow-on to that, in my opinion.
Okay, so this was in our packet, the resolution. Has everyone read that? Do we want to adopt that now rather than put it on another meeting? So if you would like to, let's have a motion. 2023-45. I think you might. Okay, so resolution 2023-45 has been moved by Councilor Martin, seconded by Councilor Waters. Let's vote on that. I need to get back to the screen. And that passes unanimously. Thank you. So the next one is brought up by Councilor Yarbrough. Well, it was brought in a way.
There's a connection.
There
There's a
certainly
connection.
is.
Yes, thank you.
So,
Mayor Peck, members of council, Sandy Cedar, Assistant City Manager. We noticed, this is about the special event sponsorship policy. This is an administrative policy of the city, but we wanted to bring it to you because it has a council tie. During COVID, everybody stopped doing their events and, things kind of came to a, slamming halt. But as events are beginning to perk back up again, we've had some interest from community members about becoming city-sponsored events. And so, I started to look around, so what does that mean and how do we do that? And I found an older policy stating that anyone who wants a city-sponsored event needs to come to the council and ask for it. I felt like that maybe not be the best policy because it allows no vetting from staff, no cost analysis, no actual application process. And so what we're presenting to you today, in your packet is a copy of the revised sponsorship policy. It's very similar to the other one, but gives some more meat to it as well as some process. As I mentioned, this is an administrative policy, so it's more for your reference. We kind of would like to make sure that you're okay with this idea and this thought. It is one that we'll administer in the city manager's office. And then we do indeed have 2 applications for city sponsorship for 2 events. So the way that we've laid out the city sponsorship policy is that people would put together an application, which you had copies of ones for Juneteenth and for the Pride Festival. We then do a cost estimate, which we've given to you in the council packet. And then if you approve it, then we'll take that money out of council contingency in this year. And then next year, we'll budget for that as part of the department's budgets. It becomes part of the list of city-sponsored events. And then in that way, it gives you a little more information than people just kind of coming up and asking, please. So the policy is here. We would love to know if that's generally okay with you as a good way to interact with council and give you good information. And then we do have 2 applications. The Juneteenth celebration is one, and the other one is the Pride Festival this summer. So,
Councillor McCoy.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. I agree. We need to make sure that we have a vetting first, and I think it's just good policy practice and overall a good idea for most activities in the community. So thank you for everything you did on this.
Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez.
Well, to paraphrase Councilmember Waters just now off microphone, yes and yes. That was actually a direct quote. It wasn't a paraphrase.
is that a motion?
All right. Well, so the administrative policy
yes.
portion doesn't require a motion. I don't.
No,
believe.
that's true. No, not the administrative policy, but the actual sponsorship of the 2 events does.
But I believe that both events are I think should be considered very important to the city as far as celebrating the diversity of the community. And so I would move that we sponsor both Juneteenth and Pride Fest.
Second. So that motion to sponsor both Juneteenth and the Pride Parade?
Pride Fest.
Pride
So
Fest.
this year, they're moving it from a parade, which is a First Amendment right type of event, to Roosevelt Park and making it a longer event. Yeah, should be fun.
Thanks for that clarification. And I seconded that motion. So is there any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. And that carries unanimously. Thank you, Councillor Yarbrough.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
And now we're at the legislative items, which you just passed out a sheet for us.
Yes. And so my apologies for the fact that I got ahead of myself. I sent them out saying that they were for the May 2nd meeting, and then I was like, wait, we haven't had the April 25th meeting. So my apologies for that. The session is not yet over. We still have 15 days. And tonight I have 2 bills for your consideration. The first one is House Bill 23-1245. This concerns the requirements under the Fair Campaign Practices Act for municipal elections. So there are a lot of municipalities that don't have campaign finance rules, or certainly an ordinance the way that we do, laws the way that we do. And so the state is asking through this bill to basically regulate municipal elections, as well as including, campaign contribution limits and all those pieces of which we already deal with in our ordinance. This is a preemption of local control. It wouldn't really affect our ordinances because it was recently amended to say that the contributions would be $400 with a cap of $4,000. That's higher than our current ordinance is. So because we're more restrictive than the state, then our campaign contributions would hold. But at the same time, why are they regulating that for us when really you are the ones that determine what that looks like? And so our suggestion is that City Council opposes House Bill 23-1245.
Any, Counselor Martin?
Just if I'm remembering right, you said $400 with a cap of 4,000. You mean you can't have more than 10 contributors?
I'm not sure that they lay it out particularly that way. The state law is saying that a cap of $400 and $4,000 total.
We don't have a cap, a total cap, do we?
That's true. We only have a per,
I think it's
per
a
item.
small committee cap, Councilmember Martin, which is different. We don't have that in our code. So it is
says
different.
a
yeah, it's
political
small.
party.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're looking at it slightly differently,
Yeah.
which again highlights the fact that,
Yeah,
maybe
well,
the state
I like
should be
not having
regulating.
a small committee cap. Okay. Yes. So opposed.
Do you want to make that motion then, Counselor Martin?
Sure. So moved. I move that we oppose HB 1245.
Okay, so we opposed HB 23, no, Counselor Martin moved HB 23-1245 to oppose, seconded by Counselor McCoy. Let's vote. We have no discussion. Let's vote. Yes, yes to oppose.
Yes to oppose.
Or as it says on our screen, yay. So that carries unanimously, thank you.
Thank you. And then the other one that's on here for today is Senate Bill 23-279, and this is a prohibition against basically ghost guns. This follows exactly along the statement that the council put together regarding legislation that affects public safety. And so staff recommends the city council supports Senate Bill 23-279.
I move to move SB 23-279 to support.
I'll second.
Sounds like so I moved SB 23-279 to support, seconded by Councilor Hidalgo Faring. Let's vote. And that carries unanimously. This is our very last legislative update.
One more, because I was a week ahead. So my little paragraph saying this is the last update really was meant for next week, because I'm always working 2 weeks in advance. So my apologies. Next week will be your last legislative.
We get to hear from you again.
One more time. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. So we're now at the final call, public invited to be heard. Is there anybody in the public? Come on up. State your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Scott Conlon, 1014 Fifth Avenue. Mayor, council members, everything I wrote and was going to say is kind of a little bit of a moot point at this point because of all the discussion. It was great discussion, I think. I enjoyed it quite a bit about recreation and putting recreation on the ballot, and I wrote to all of you earlier about this, so you know what my position is on it. I think it would be good for staff to come back to council to talk about what the costs are, to go over those impacts that are there. It was good to hear a lot of support for a new rec center, for enhancements or improvements to the existing rec center. And I just wanted to introduce the Let's Get Physical Longmont. So that's this group that is basically getting put together. It is 155 members so far in Longmont. It's only a couple of weeks old, or a few weeks old, because we haven't had the longevity as that the Performing Arts Center has had. But really, a lot of citizens really interested in supporting recreation on the ballot. So the group's cause is to help get something passed. We know what happened in 2019 with the new rec center, and so we want to do something different. So if we could, have that in your consideration, that there is a group that would like to support the new rec center, as well as the Y and whatever the Y package becomes, and more recreation for the people of Longmont, so be it. We're for it. So thank you.
I'm really glad you're putting that group together, Scott.
Sure.
That's great.
Great. Thank you.
Yes, we have one more.
Good evening, everyone. Tom Davis, 1040 Morning Dove Drive, Longmont, Colorado. Mainly wanted be here both as a member of Parks and Recreation Board as well as a citizen who is in a unique position to listen to a lot of the community. One of the bigger things in my particular job is that I sit down with people for an hour and a half per session, talking through what their wants, needs, and wishes are within the community. One of the biggest things that is constantly a part of, and admittedly we're talking finance, but their dreams are to enjoy more of Longmont, to enjoy more of the recreation that we can offer. One of the biggest things that is constantly brought up when it's outside of my sway of being on a board and bringing that up with them is that they more often than not want more room to recreate. I can't tell you how many times I've sat in front of a family with some planning or just individuals in particular who have come forward and told me, yeah, I'd love to go spend more time at the rec centre. It's too crowded. Or to a unique point brought up tonight, the slide, I've got little kids. My kids can't go down that slide. Or, some other concern with gang showers and all the other different things that have come up throughout tonight. Like Scott, and as soon to be a member of Scott's Let's Get Physical, there is a lot that was said tonight that kind of makes a lot of the conversational points moot when we're talking about what we can constantly offer to the community. But again, I just want to echo finally the past Parks and Recreation Board efforts over, I would assume from reading through previous minutes, years at this point, of constantly hammering away at the fact that second Parks and Rec Centre, wherever it may end up, and refurbishment to show the community that we have responsibility and responsibility towards the services we already have would better give a value to our tax dollars that we're putting into this, as well as private dollars or whatever else is involved. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. So that is actually mayor and council comments. Do you feel like you've made enough comments tonight? So we'll go to the city manager remarks.
Comments, mayor and council.
City attorney or city legal.
No comments. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to adjourn? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So it's been moved. It's been moved by, who moved that? Councilor Waters, seconded by McCoy. Let's vote. We're done. We voted, but I had to make it legal. Good night, Susie.
Good night. Thank you for letting me join.